1978, going against a Ram team that has not opened up the season by losing 3 straight since back in 1963 when they were 0-5. The Rams haven't lost at home to Green Bay since 1966. That would be 7 straight. So teeing it up is the veteran Jan Stenerud, and because of his soccer style, that is a different tee than the one that Frank Corral would use. The teeth holding the ball are staggered a little bit, set wider apart so he can get more of the football. So Stenerud kicking, and it is going to be a short kick. Drew Hill will take it on the 7-yard line. He is across the 25 to the 35 and dragged down at the last minute by Eustace Hood. So Hood finally pulls down Drew Hill, and we'll take a look at the Rams with Hayden, Tyler, and Bryant, the running backs. Denard and Waddy are the wide receivers. The tight end is Henry Child, and up front a seasoned line, John, Pankey, Hill, Saul, Hara, and Slater.
I think they're going to do a lot more running today, Ben, than they have been.
They'll spot the ball at the Ram 38-yard line, so that was a 21-yard return by Drew Hill. Running backs are Cullen Bryant and Wendell Tyler. And Tyler, following Bryant, is dragged down from behind by Mike Butler, who might very well be the best defensive line up front.
And that's going to be a very interesting matchup. I think Butler is probably the best lineman of the Packers, and the best offensive lineman is Jackie Slater of the Rams.
Well, you see the 3-man front, and then here's the strength. The linebackers, Anderson, Wingo, Cumbie, and Douglas. You have Mark Lee and Mike McCoy at the corners, Johnny Gray and Maurice Harvey at the safety. So it is 2nd and 9. The ball on the 39-yard line, and Wendell Tyler is the sole setback off the right side across the 45 in midfield, but there's a flag on the play. In fact, there are several of them.
I had the opportunity to talk to Pat Hayden in the locker room before the game, and he was telling me, we are going to run more today. He said, we have to run more. He said, we're going to use Wendell Tyler a lot more. He said, you'll see him running the ball most of the time.
Well, you can see the Ram numbers: 9th in rushing, 5th in passing, and 9th overall offensively. And it'll be a 5-yard offside penalty against Los Angeles, spotting the ball back on the 34.
Lining up in the neutral zone, number 83 offense.
So that's the tight end, Henry Childs, who was guilty of lining up in the neutral zone. Meanwhile, Green Bay, 10th against the rush, 7th against the pass, and 7th overall.
It's a good matchup.
You know, the Packers have not allowed any points in the first half so far this year, admittedly only the 3rd game. 2nd and 14 on the 34, and Hayden under a rush, and he's swallowed up. Jones was the first man to hit him, and down he goes on the 25-yard line, where Cody Jones will help him up.
Pat Hayden just stood up there, and he asked for 3 wide receivers. Now watch Jones. He's coming right up the middle. You see, he got by the center Saul, and then he got by the right guard, Dennis Hara, and the next thing he saw was number 11. You see Pat Hayden, he signaled to the bench 3. That means that he wants 3 wide receivers.
He'll need at least that, because it's 3rd and 23 on the Ram 25. You remember the kickoff return brought it out to the 38, so they're going backward. In motion is Preston Denard. Hayden will arc it high down the left side. Denard made the catch inside the Packer 40-yard line. They'll spot it at the Packer 38. 1st and 10 with Johnny Gray trying to knock it down and unable to.
You know, they're still talking about that one down there, Ben. You know, it looks like he may have stepped out of bounds. Now watch it from the end zone here. He gets to the outside. Look, see, he's out of bounds, and he comes back in. That's illegal. He can't do that. If the ball were tipped, the officials are talking about that on the sideline. Look, he's out. He catches the ball in, but he can't go outside and come back into the field to play. And the officials just figured that out.
And it was a good call. You had Jerry Seaman, the referee, Frank Sinkovich, the umpire. And a good call, as was shown. Denard had stepped out of bounds and then came back into the playing field. So scratch that 37-yard pass play. It also means it will be 4th down for the Rams. And in their first sequence offensively, they're going to have to give up the ball.
You know, one thing playing
The
here.
pass was incomplete as the receiver stepped out of bounds prior to catching the pass.
Look, there it is. See, his left foot's out of bounds. The fans are booing that. They ought to be able to see this replay. Gee, that's a great catch, though. Great catch.
Fred Nixon
Good hit.
and Johnny McCoy are deep, and Frank Corral, who goes both ways, kicker and punter, will be punting from the Ram 15-yard line. Frank's punt, and it'll be a fair catch for Johnny Gray at the 40-yard line. So the Packers, instead of having the Rams 1st and 10 on the Packer 38, the Pack takes over 1st and 10 on its own 40-yard line. One thing for Green Bay, they come in here to 89-degree weather. Is there any way for a football team to get accustomed to the heat?
You know, there's no way that you can become acclimated. We used to study that, and we found out that to become acclimated to weather, you'd have to be there 2 weeks early. And, of course, you can't do that. So the best thing is just to come in, play the game, and get out.
Well, we'll see now how the Packers go. 1st and 10 on the Green Bay 40-yard line. Middleton and Ellis are the running backs. In motion is Kaufman, and they'll try Jerry Ellis, who used to play for the Rams. One of the raps on Ellis is the fact that he was a fumbler. Last year, he fumbled 7 times, and he's already fumbled twice this year against the Bears. There's the Ram defensive front four, along with the linebackers, Youngblood, Eckern, and Andrews. And John, last week, Nolan Cromwell made 11 unassisted tackles. What does that tell you?
That means that the front four and the linebackers really didn't do their job because they shouldn't get to the safety.
So it is 2nd and 7 on the Packer 43-yard line. Fred Nixon in motion to the right. Rod Perry will pick him up. Turdell Middleton is swallowed up. Mike Fanning hit him head on at about the 42-yard line. A couple of notes on Fanning, number 79. He's getting married. He gets married Monday night, and he was involved in the John Hadel trade because the Rams got a couple of first-round draft picks. Fanning and Pat Thomas were 2 of them, and they're in against the Pack today. It was intended for Jerry Ellis in the pass behind him. You know, John, everybody talks about what a bad trade that was for Green Bay. When you were coaching, are there any trades you'd like to get back?
I made a lot of bad trades, Vin. I have a lot of safeties. I probably have more safeties playing in this league that I cut than anyone else in the history of the game. In fact, one's playing in this game for the Green Bay Packers, Maurice Harvey.
Ray Stachowicz has a problem. Half of his punts have been returned for an average of 20 yards. That's the highest in the league.
And they say that he really doesn't get the ball up, that he kicks too many line drives.
He kicked a line drive last week to Reggie Smith, who ran it 52 yards, and it got Atlanta right back in the ballgame. This will be handled by Leroy Irvin at the 19-yard line. And he's got away from Whitaker, and they finally swallowed him up at about the 27-yard line. So for their second sequence, the Rams started first on their own 38. This time now they'll put it in play inside. In the first quarter, no score in the ball game. The Rams in their second possession will put it in play 1st and 10 from their 27-yard line. Some scores: Atlanta polished off San Francisco 34-17. Meanwhile, Cleveland defeated Cincinnati 20-17, and Cleveland and Atlanta will have a big meeting next week. There goes Wendell Tyler getting around the right side, but Mike Butler had him from behind and pulled him down. They are so much better off, of course, with Butler, who had his troubles 2 years ago with a dislocated elbow and an ankle.
I'll tell you what Pat Hayden told me in the locker room was sure true. They wanted to start off running, and they wanted to start off running to Wendell Tyler. Of course, I'm sure that he thought they'd have more success than they are.
And you know, John, I'm looking for a pass to Tyler because he caught 6 and a touchdown so far this year, averaging better than 19 yards a catch. That's the highest for any running back in the NFL with 7 or more receptions. Keep your eye on 26. He's going to run it again. Wide to the right. Wingo is chasing him. So is Douglas, and he is finally pushed out of bounds by Harvey and McCoy. Wendell Tyler getting out across the 30 up to just about the 35-yard line. This broadcast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the written consent of the Los Angeles Rams and the National Football League is prohibited.
Do you think anyone has ever written in for consent?
I might have an old carbon somewhere. I'll have to double check.
I always wonder that. Yeah, I taped the game. I want to watch it.
3rd and 2 on the 35. And we'll see what Hayden comes up with now with the back split. Cullen Bryant, and he's going to go with Tyler slanting across the right side. And Tyler on his own got out across the 40-yard line and picked up the first down.
That was a good time to run that play. You know, did you see the depth of the 2 inside linebackers of the Packers? See, they're about 6 yards deep in here, so the Rams ran a play right at that, what they call the bubble there. The seam in it, they got movement. Wingo didn't get up into the line, and they were able to get the first down.
So the Rams trying to keep it going now, picking up a first down on their own 40-yard line. Billy Waddy is wide right, and Preston Denard goes left. And Hayden throwing high, and Waddy makes a great catch across the 45 and stumbles out of bounds at the 46-yard line. So it'll be 2nd and 4.
You know, one of the things that Hayden was talking about in wanting to run the ball more is to keep the defense off the field. Now, this is just like a run. Look, it's just a little quick pass out there to Denard, and they pick up 4 or 5 yards and get in a 2nd down situation. See here, he runs up about 5 yards, but Waddy up in the air, good catch, and creates that 2nd and 5.
So from the 46-yard line, Pat Hayden giving to big Cullen Bryant, and Bryant across midfield, pulling his way almost to the 45-yard line. Bryant cooled off last week. He had 5 rushes for only 18 yards, but for 2 weeks he was right up there behind Dorsett, Montgomery, and Jerry Ellis.
You see the size of that Cullen Bryant? He has the biggest arms and chest, I think, that I've ever seen of a running back in my life. He has them covered up today, but you ought to see those things.
He's listed at 6'1" and 236. One of the great things about Bryant, too, he doesn't fumble. In like prior to this year, 949 carries, 9 fumbles. He fumbled once last week, which equaled his output of 1980. As a coach, you got to love that.
You love that because you like to have a fullback that you can pound in there, that can create short yardage situations for you, and then pick up the short yardage situations, and you don't have to worry about a fumble.
By the way, if Cullen gets 97 yards rushing today, he will pass the great John Arnett in Ram history. So 2nd and 5 on the 41, and it's Wendell Tyler getting down to about the 36-yard line. So they're staying on the ground, as you figured.
They are staying on the ground. They're staying on the ground with both Wendell Tyler and Cullen Bryant. This is a trap play. He starts to run it to the right in there behind Kent Hill. He looked like he cut in a little too soon and instead of staying outside with Hill.
John, don't the Ram offensive linemen do something a little different, the way they play combinations?
Well, they do. The whole thing is they don't always have man. They'll start off with areas and block a stunt when it comes to them.
That's Cullen Bryant. And Bryant on his own as he got down to about the 25-yard line. He had shed a whole group of tacklers at the 30. It was Saul leading the way for him, and George Cumby finally brought him down.
We'll see Bryant go through here, and you see him shed tacklers. I think they're just falling off of him. You see what? He turns up. Now, once you get that big body straighten up field, see the shoulders going straight up the field perpendicular, then, of course, he can get hit and still gain 2 or 3 more yards.
Johnny Gray, who's 185 pounds, number 25, hit him just under the knee and didn't even make an impression. Bryant this time, however, has run into linebacker country, and down he goes. And that number 59 is a fellow to talk about, John Anderson, who has broken his left arm 3 times. The last time they had to make a bone graft from his hip to his arm, and he wears a protective device, as you can see, on the left arm. You've got to love this game to keep playing after what he's had happen.
This is the first time I've seen John Anderson without a cast on his left arm. I thought that was normal. He was born that way.
1st and 10 on the Packer 23. Waddy starting one way, goes the other, and here's Wendell Tyler to the 15, fumble. It's recovered by Green Bay, and I believe it was Casey Merrill, number 78, who picked it off. Tyler fumbles it. Casey Merrill, number 78, picked the ball up, even though Cumby finally came up with it. Watch number 78.
That's a disappointed Wendell Tyler. I formation, a little flip. Now watch Bryant get the block out there on Douglas. He springs Tyler to the outside. He cuts back, and right there, the ball pops out. Look, up in the air, boom.
Come back and knock off the Rams, and they haven't done that here in quite a while. 1st and 10 on the 15-yard line. Dickey rolling left. left, and then throwing to the left side, incomplete, intended for Lofton. He had Rod Perry there covering him. John, a question now that we see Lofton. If the Packers sign John Jefferson, will that make Lofton and Jefferson a terrific threat, or will somebody else profit by it?
I think someone else will profit by it. You know, you always say that, but the biggest coverage in the National Football League today is a double-double, where they double both outside receivers. So, of course, the thing you have to have in addition to the outside receivers is a tight end and or running back.
Well, we'll take a look now. 2nd and 10 from the 15-yard line. Lofton right, and it's Jerry Ellis, who was originally drafted by the Rams. Jim Youngblood hit him head on. And
I was talking to Ellis about that yesterday as we see him here, and he felt that he could have made the Ram team. He said he just didn't get a chance. Or he didn't feel that he got a chance anyway. You see Jim Youngblood step right into that hole square. I love that.
Here's a 3rd and 9. The ball on the Packers' 16-yard line. Now Kaufman, the tight end, comes back to block. And a quick release and a great catch by Lofton. He just did have one stride on Nolan Cromwell, and he still made a Willie Mays reception for a first down at the 29.
Willie Mays or Lofton, because it's a blitz. As we see right here, we see the safety, Johnny Johnson, come, so that was an automatic. Lofton had to run a quicker pattern, and Dickey had to get rid of the ball.
If Lofton catches 4 passes today, he's going to climb up another rung in Green Bay history. Atop the ladder, of course, is the great Don Hudson. 1st and 10 on the Packer 29-yard line. Lofton is wide left. Nixon is wide right. Johnny Johnson up on the line, but then backs off again, and it's going to be a fake to Ellis, and a diving attempt by Fred Nixon, no good, on the Ram 45-yard line, and we believe there's a flag on the play in the backfield.
There is a flag down here. Then it was in the area of Pat Thomas here, the left corner, and it could be against the Rams, probably holding. It looks like he had contact after that 5-yard area. There was contact down about 10 or 12 yards.
Lynn Dickey, we were talking about John Anderson. How about Dickey? In 1972, he had major hip injuries. In 1976, he had a shoulder operation. He broke his leg against the Rams in 77.
Illegal contact, number 27 defense. First down.
And Dickey, just for good measure, had 3 operations on his back in 1979.
You have to love it, don't you?
Oh, that's more than love.
What's more?
Whatever the next step is.
What is the next step?
I'm not sure. It's
You'll
first
think of something.
First and 5 on the 34. Ellis is the setback behind Dickey with a slot going to the left side, but now in motion is Gary Lewis, and here comes Ellis. And he's going to be held at the 35-yard line, so not much as Carl Eckern made his presence felt.
What the Packers are trying to do is to get into a passing formation. They had the 3 wide receivers on the line, only 1 running back, Ellis in the backfield. Make the Rams think pass and then run the ball to Ellis. It didn't fool the Rams at all. They were just all right there in the line of scrimmage waiting for the run.
So the Packers will try it 2nd and 9 on the Green Bay 36 as Nixon goes left and Lofton goes right. No score. 5.5 minutes left in the first quarter. That's Kaufman in motion. And Dickey throwing to James Lofton, who made another great catch, and look out now. Lofton is across the Ram 45, spun down at the 43. He's truly remarkable, isn't he?
Okay, we can talk about John Jefferson, but James Lofton is really something. You know, he bench presses 350 pounds, and that's more or as much as linemen do. And watch what it does for the strength here. Watch him just come up with those hands, grab the ball out of the air right past Pat Thomas. You can't tackle him with just one arm. Look at the strength in that upper body. It takes a group to bring him down.
A team meeting in order to knock him down inside the 45-yard line. 1st and 10 on the Ram 42. In motion is Curdell Middleton. Dickey to Ellis as they try to set up a screen on the right side, and Ellis knocks the screen down and runs into Nolan Cromwell at about the 37-yard line. So he maybe picked up 5 yards on that.
You know, Ellis is really an impressive guy. We had a long talk with him yesterday, and He is a big, oh, he just raised his hand. There's something happens. He's going out. We were talking about the heat yesterday, and he said that he would rather play in cold weather, that the hot weather tends to affect him more.
Well, he went to school at Missouri. Meanwhile, they bring in Steve Atkins, and down on the Ram bench, they try and figure out what to do offensively when they get the football. 2nd and 4 on the Ram 36. That's Turdell Middleton, and he's got by the attempted tackle of George Andrews. Andrews had him in the backfield, but went flying by.
That was Dan Radakovich, the offensive line coach of the Rams, and he was down there talking to his linemen.
That's Greg Koch, 5 years out of Arkansas, shaken up, playing on the right side, just inside the tight end Paul Kaufman, so he has to come out. Of course, we've been talking about fellas playing hurt, and is that Zeke Bratkowski?
That's Zeke.
It sure is.
He's signaling into Lynn Dickey the plays. See, no, he's telling, I don't want that one. Wait a minute, hold up.
Of course, Zeke was here. He knows what it's like to wear the horns of the Rams.
That's right.
3rd and 1 on the Ram 32. Nixon is on a wing and now goes in motion. Second man is Turdell Middleton, and he butts heads across the 30, and he's dropped to the 29. And that should be enough for the first down. So the Pack is on the move as Turdell Middleton is playing for Eddie Lee Ivory. And of course, when they're without Ivory, this is a totally different ball club. We have some numbers on Ivory, who went out with a knee injury, to show you how important he is to the Green Bay Packers. And Middleton has a big pair of shoes. For instance, offensively, last year, Ivory was number 2 back of Lofton in catching passes.
Steve Atkins and Turdell Middleton at running back.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Ram 29-yard line. The Pack started on their own 15 after a Wendell Tyler fumble was recovered by Casey Merrill. Play action fake to Atkins, and Dickey is swallowed up. He was hit by several. Mike Fanning along with Cody Jones.
Like Cody Jones came from the outside. He got around Mark Conkar out there, and we'll see this play again from the end zone here. Right there. Now watch from the right-hand side of the screen. See, he can't see him on the blind side. Right there, he didn't see Cody Jones coming in, and he was the first one there.
Cody Jones playing defensive end, replacing Fred Dreyer, and that has been a story equal to War and Peace here in Southern California. 2nd and 17 on the Ram 36-yard line. Kaufman, the tight end, backs off now. Dickey going to the right side to Lofton, and here he goes. There's a flag on the play. He took a bump by Leroy Irvin at the 25-yard line. Right. And knocked him out of bounds.
And he stepped out of bounds right at the 25. And we'll see the thing here again. Now watch it from the side. We see the two of them. See, it's a slot formation. Both of them start off here together. And then we let them go. Okay, now here's Lofton. Watch, see, he's getting bumped there. The first 5 yards, it's okay. He runs the out, catches. Now watch the foot. Right there, the right foot hit the ground on the 25, and that's where they marked the ball.
So it'll be 3rd and 2 on the Ram 25 on a drive that started on the Packers 15. Middleton and Atkins are the running back. Looking over the middle is the complete pass, and that's to the tight end, Paul Kaufman. We're waiting for him to handle it. Kaufman is quite a story. They call him Hog. He actually was a walk-on as far as a tryout with Green Bay was concerned. John Meyer went to Kansas State to look at somebody else, and this kid said, well, if you don't mind, while you're here, would you look at me? And here he is, and look at his numbers.
You know, and that's the way he plays, too. He's a very determined guy. He gets everything that he has out of his ability. You know, in that last play, he lined up in an interesting position. He was out behind the wide receiver like an I formation on the sidelines.
So 1st and 10 on the Rams 16-yard line. Dickey with Atkins to setback, and Atkins carrying, and he is hit and hit hard by Jim Youngblood. Dropped at about the 22. Let's go to the NFL Today and an update to Brent Musburger in New York.
With Chicago and Tampa Bay tied at 14. Vince Evans pulls out for the Bears from the 8, and on the quarterback draw, he gets in, and after the extra point, Chicago leads Tampa Bay 21-14. Back to Vince Scully and John Madden.
Okay, Brent, we have no score here in the first quarter with only 18 seconds left, but the Pack is driving. They have it 2nd and 12 on the 18. Atkins, the setback, and they go slot left. They have Lewis and Lofton, and now Lewis comes out of the slot. And a little quick one to Atkins, trying to beat a one-man screen, and he gets down to about the 15-yard line. The one-man screen was set up by the center, Larry McCarron, and McCarron tried to lead the way.
We'll see it again. Now, again, they had that same formation. Out here in the left, they have 2 receivers stacked. They come to the inside. He throws the one-man screen out here. You see it? See McCarron right out in front. He gets the block on Johnny Johnson and then picks up the yardage.
The Green Bay Packers starting the second quarter with no score against the Los Angeles Rams. The biggest play thus far, Wendell Tyler fumbling, recovered by Casey Merrill of the Packers on their 15-yard line. And the Pack has moved from their 15 to where they are at the moment, 3rd on the 17, and they need 10 as Ray Malavasi troubled on the sidelines, furious when they had a pass call back and a somewhat, at least for the moment, unflappable Bart Starr. So 3rd and 10. Dickey has completed 6 consecutive passes.
You know, that's one thing that I was never described as unflappable.
Unflappable. No, you would be
never.
flappable. Yeah, at least.
There's flappable John Madden.
3rd and 10 on the 17-yard line. Ellis is back in there now. And Ellis releases. The pass intended for James Lofton. He was bumped by Leroy Irvin, and I think they're going to call pass interference on number 47.
They are, because again, that was past the 5-yard area, and they can't bump him before the ball gets to him. Now watch that. That's what they're talking about. Lofton said, I was hit before the ball got there, and it was after 5 yards, and he was right.
So the Rams are going to be hurt on that play for sure. After all, it was a 3rd and 10. They had a chance to dodge a bullet except for the penalty, and it'll be 1st and goal from the 2.
Pass interference, number 47 defense, 1st down.
So 1st and goal. They'll spot the ball on the 2-yard line, and Lynn Dickey, 6 out of 8, but remember, 6 straight.
You know, last week the Packers put in Carl Swanke here, a tackle at tight end. They have him in there now. They threw a pass to him.
It went for 2 yards. It was the only pass he's ever caught in his life. That's Lewis in motion to the right, and they're going to try Ellis, and the former Rams score.
I'll tell you, he's a happy man. He felt yesterday that he could run. He said that, you know, we can run on this team. Now watch him down here. He gets in there in that 5 yards. Just put that head down, square those shoulders, know where the end zone, get a little of that dirt flying, get it across that line.
In case that's not too familiar a name, he is 3rd among NFC rushers behind Tony Dorsett and Wilbert Montgomery. That ain't no bad crowd to hang around with.
That's a very nice crowd.
That's the high rent district. So it is 6-0 Packers with 14:51 left to go in the second, and the point by Jan Stenerud is good. And so Green Bay is on the board, taking a lead of 7-0 very early in the second quarter, as you see the LSTD again. 14:51 left in the second quarter in favor of the Packers, 7-0, as Jan Stenerud, who came to this country to ski at Montana State. He didn't kick until his senior year and decided, hey, this is fun, and what a career he's had. Stenerud kicking, and kicking soft. It'll be Drew Hill at the 10, to the 20, to the 25, and stung out of bounds. Jensen, who had just been recently signed, and Randy Scott. That's a great name for Southern California, number 55, Randy Scott. So the Rams will put it in play, 1st and 10 on their own 25-yard line. For the Rams, it was the 3rd possession. They started on their own 38 and didn't go anywhere. They started on their own 27 and fumbled on the Packer 15, and now they start on their own 25. Out of the eye with Bryant and Tyler behind Hayden. And they'll try Tyler, and dragging him down is Mike Douglas, which is another great name for Southern California.
State, you know, He was on blitz that time, Vin. He started out as the outside linebacker, and I don't think that was on flow. I think that he was coming. They said, they've run enough to this weak side. We're going to blitz and play hard on that corner.
Mike was the MVP, the most valuable defensive player on the Green Bay squad last year. We figure to see a lot of number 53. 2nd and 14 on the 22. Hayden with Waddy very wide right. Under rush from Butler. And Butler serves more than dinner with that one.
I'll tell you, and that's against Jackie Slater. And I've always felt that Jackie Slater is one of the underrated players in this game. Now watch him. And Pat Hayden is down injured. Watch Butler here. He starts with his left hand, brings the right arm up underneath. Right there. Now watch the shot that Pat Hayden takes. And Pat Hayden is still down, Ben.
Which is an absolute disaster for a good kid who has been troubled by injuries. And at the moment, the Pack leading 7-0. John, Butler really hit him.
Right, he sure did, and we're going to see it again from the end zone. We'll see Butler coming from the left, from the outside. See, now Hayden's dropping back. He's looking to his left. He's looking away from Butler. Now watch, he doesn't see him coming. He doesn't know it. Then right there, the helmet, and look at that shot that he took.
You know, as Hayden is down and slowly gets up on his feet, as we take yet another look as Butler beats Jackie Slater, and of course that's got to really upset Slater for the rest of the day, not to mention what it did to Hayden. For Pat, going out, it brings up the point. Dan Pastorini working out this week. Will the Rams sign him? Would they go to the kids like Rutledge and Kemp? And immediately now you can see that Hayden is very much under duress as they take him to the sideline.
Right, and it looks like more than a concussion. It looks like maybe a shoulder or left arm.
So Jeff Rutledge, who came into the rescue in a Chicago Bears start only to throw an untimely interception, is suddenly called in on a 3rd and 23 from the Ram 13. As soon as we get a report on Hayden, we'll pass it to you. It's the second man. That's Wendell Tyler. Tried to follow Gooman's block and gets to the 24-yard line, and there's Mike Butler again.
Well, I tell you, he came out of that play, and all he wanted to run was make it look like a pass and run a draw.
You know, next week on CBS Sports Saturday, follow the legendary Roberto Duran on his comeback. He'll take on the newly crowned European super welterweight Luigi Mincio. That's next Saturday for the drama. One of sports' most fascinating stories continues, 4:30, 3:30 Central and Pacific on CBS Sports Saturday. There's drama on the sidelines as they minister to Pat Hayden. Meanwhile, Frank Corral will be punting again from his own 10-yard line. Deep is Fred Nixon, standing on the Packer 33. Corral kicking to Nixon at the 33. Fred is to the 40, and they put a sandwich on him and dropped it. Doug Smith was there to hit him first, along with Arnold, and there's a flag on the play. That's Dr. Bob Curlin just to the right of Pat Hayden. Meanwhile, let's get the call after that return. The flag is at the 45-yard line, and the ball about the 43. Bob Curlin on the right is an orthopedic surgeon. Internist Toby Friedman is on the left. Trying to figure out if you can guess by which doctor is talking to him to the extent of the injury.
Look like they both are. It looked like a
team during the run back.
looked like a whiplash. You know, the way he was hit, his whole body just kind of
I was thinking of the collarbone because Butler hit him just about there on the left side. 12:55 to the half, 7-0 Packers. The field, a blow to the sternum is the first report, John.
And they'll take him in the locker room now, Ben, and have x-rays right in the locker room.
1st and 10 on the Packer 33. Dickey handing off to Turdell Middleton, and he just about got back to the line of scrimmage. As soon as we get a further report, we'll pass it along to you on Pat Hayden. You know, we had talked about quarterback controversy in Los Angeles. That has really been the story, I guess, of this franchise, as we see that Jerry Ellis is down what looks like a knee or ankle. And of course, again in 1981 is brought to the point as Hayden is carried out. But you can go back here to Bob Waterfield and Norm Van Brocklin, and just keep turning the pages, and we'll do that for you a little bit later on. Up a year and walking away.
He'll never live that one down.
2nd and 10 on the Packer 33. Lofton goes wide right. Fred Nixon is wide left. Here comes Middleton. And he gets across the 35-yard line. There's a flag on the play. Carl Swanke, number 67, trying to lead the way for him.
And it's something against the Packer offense. That's the, yeah, it's holding right there. That's the umpire calling that. And he saw something right in the middle of the line when the ball just started to move.
We got a report that Jerry Ellis, who scored the Packer touchdown, had hurt his left ankle, the reason he had to leave. So without Ivory, without Ellis, the load now will be shared amongst Turdell Middleton, Steve Atkins, and Jim Jensen, who they just signed recently. Harlan Huckleby might
hands, number 69 offense.
Tampa Bay and Chicago. Look at those Bears on a great run back, leading Tampa Bay 21-17 in the 4th. The Saints and the Giants are back at it. No score in the 2nd quarter. Denver on the boards, leading Baltimore 7-0 early in the 2nd quarter.
The Giants don't like to score in the first half.
No, they don't want to, you know, don't wake up a sleeping giant.
They keep that juggernaut under wraps.
2nd and 20 on the 23. That is some juggernaut, John. That's Kaufman, the tight end, who's coming out of the backfield to the 25, to the 30, to the 35, to the 40. Swung out of bounds by Rod Perry and about the 43-yard line. So the tight end was in the backfield once before, and this time it was as if he was playing halfback.
Paul Kaufman has lined up all over the field today, Ben. We saw him once. He was outside behind the wide receiver. We see him as a tight end. We'll see him here now coming out of the backfield. See, he starts and then he'll swing out. He'll swing out right here on a running screen. The line's out in front of him. He gets that big body going up the field. There aren't too many Rams around that are too interested in getting in there.
Now it's a very big play. If Green Bay expects to keep it going, they have a 3rd and 1 on their own 42-yard line. So let's see what number is called with Atkins and Middleton behind Dickey. Whoops. Now let's see how it's ruled. Did they jump or were they drawn off? That's Reggie Doss, number 71.
But number 71 defense.
So Reggie Doss is guilty of the infraction. Green Bay says thank you very much, and they pick up the 1st down. There is Jerry Ellis working on that ankle, John.
Right, you know, he was hit by his own man. One of his blockers in front of him, the lineman, was blocking and went back and whipped his legs from behind.
Reggie Doss, a big man at 267 pounds, spelling Larry Brooks. I have a question to ask you about, we've already talked about whether you believe the speed they put in the press guide. So-and-so runs a 40 and 4.5. I want to ask you about weight. But first of all, 1st and 10 on the Packer 47-yard line. Dickey on a play-action fake to Atkins, looking right, throwing low to Fred Nixon, so we've got a shot at it. After 7 in a row, Dickey misses a pass, but there's a flag on the play. What about weight, John? Are these fellas honest, or are they up to tricks?
Well, you know, they have weights that they're given by the coaches, and sometimes they don't agree or like that weight. You know, Fred Dreyer used to wear weights underneath his shoulders so that he would weigh more when he got on the scale.
He had a T-shirt on, you mean?
He had a T-shirt, and he put weights underneath the T-shirt. Bill Bain, a backup guard, has a magnet that he can hold in his hand, and when he gets on the scale, he weighs 12 pounds less. They say the only guy that's constant is Murphy, Big Phil Murphy, because he weighs 300 pounds.
Number 82 offense.
And that's as high as the scales go. So when he gets on, they just say Murph 300. And every week he's the same, and that's the only one.
I'm not going to buy then all the weights and all the speed I read about as it's 2nd and 20 on the Packer 37-yard line. Did you ever have anybody with Oakland who was notorious for monkeying around with his weight?
I didn't worry too much about weight. I just evaluated how they played. There's Kaufman out there again, is behind the split end.
1st and 20 on the Packers 37-yard line. Both backs release, so Dickey's on his own. And it is hit in the air, no good. Johnny Johnson almost got it. Flags all over the place. It was intended for Fred Nixon, and Pat Thomas is down on the ground with Johnson, and let's see the interpretation
and
of the flag.
that's going to be against the Rams, and it's going to be against Pat Thomas. He had good coverage. He got a little over anxious, Ben. See, and they're just telling us about it there now. He got a little over anxious, and he made contact before the ball got there.
Pass interference.
Now watch it again. It's against number 27, Pat Thomas.
Down.
And we'll see Fred Nixon, 84, running up here. He's going to run it in. See him start in. Now the ball still isn't there. And see, we had the contact as Thomas was coming to the outside of him. He hit him before the ball got there.
Well, because of the pass interference, it is 1st and 10 on the Ram 42 for Green Bay. They started on the Pack 33. It was a 21-yard interference pass. Dickey looking right. Off the hands of Jim Youngblood and almost but missed by Pat Thomas. And it was intended once again for Fred Nixon.
I'll tell you, if Pat Thomas would have picked that ball off, he had a free lane right down to the end zone.
You know, we talked earlier about the John Hadl trade and the draft choices the Rams got. Among other things, they got Mike Fanning, who's playing today. They had Monty Jackson, who went on to Oakland. They had Jeff Reese, who's no longer playing. They needed a draft choice for compensation to get Ron Jesse, and they also used a draft choice to pick up Pat Thomas. So that was indeed a memorable trade. Coming up at halftime, Brent Musburger brings you the highlights of all the NFL action. So stay right with us. We'll also have a look at Roberto Duran as he gets ready. 2nd and 10 on the 41, and Dickey has the house ball on him. Joe Harris is in there along with Leroy Irvin.
Well, they came on a blitz. They brought the linebacker, Harris, who we see here, plus Irvin, and Dickey really didn't drop deep enough. Watch, he takes a 1-2, a 3-step drop, and there's no way that you can keep off a safety blitz with a 3-step drop. He didn't have a chance.
Well, it is 3rd and 16 on the Ram 47. We have 11:25 to the half, and the Packers are leading 7-0. The Rams committing a big flaw on Wendell Tyler's fumble, and the Packers recovered on their own 15 and went all the way for the TD. Dickey, under some heat, is going to run to the 40, 35, and fumbles. It's going to be picked up by Leroy Irvin, and Irvin is finally knocked out of bounds at the 44-yard line. Leroy Irvin picking up the Lynn Dickey fumble.
The Rams are happy, the fans are happy, but Lynn Dickey isn't. As you see him run off the field, he really doesn't run much, Ben, and he doesn't like to. He got out there in the open. He was just looking for a place to fall, and he probably should have fallen sooner.
They can cash it in. 1st and 10 on their own 44. Waddy goes wide right. Denard goes wide left. Tyler and Bryant have the eye. That's Jeff Rutledge, number 8, at the wheel. And he gets stung, fumbled after the whistle. Casey Merrill hit him. Merrill, the same man who recovered the fumble of Wendell Tyler earlier. He's another fella out of Cal Davis from down his part. He was a wrestler in college, had knee surgery in '79, and watch him come charging Rutledge.
Now watch the pass protection here, Ben. Here's Jackie Slater, 78, working against Butler, 77, and it looks like Butler got by him again. I thought after that happened once, it wouldn't happen again.
Well, it is 2nd and 19 back on the Ram 35-yard line. Tyler is the sole setback. Here comes Wendell on the right side, following Jackie Slater's block. And he took a punishing lick from Maurice Harvey, number 23. You know a little bit about Maurice Harvey.
I do. We drafted Maurice Harvey, and I'll tell you one thing. He is really a hitter. You know, that looks like a little man there, but that's a big body.
He's 5'10", 190, they say.
Right, and when he makes contact, he really jolts you.
But he sure laid a lick on Wendell Tyler.
And then you ask, why did we waive him?
Yes.
I don't know. Well, we had Jack Tatum. That was one reason.
Talking about hitting. 3rd and 10 on the Ram 44. Tyler and Mike Gooman now in there at running back. Over the middle to Tyler, and he won the wrestling match. He beat Johnny Gray at about the 47-yard line, but that's only a pickup of 3, so the Rams are going to have to give up the ball.
Again, this is one of the things that really upsets me. Of course, we have Jeff Rutledge in there, a backup quarterback, and he didn't have a chance. Did you see Douglas coming from the outside? But on third down, you like to get your receivers up past the first down mark.
John, when you were at Oakland, you had fellas like George Blanda and Darryl LaMonica. Then you had Kenny Stabler. You had some quarterback doubles up there, so to speak.
I loved it because I always wanted competition. I wanted guys behind that wanted to play. That was great. I never wanted to reverse a guy that didn't want to play. That'd be terrible.
Here's the punt now, and Fred Nixon standing at the 15-yard line. Got away from Joe Harris. Still on his feet, and down he goes. Ivory Sully hit him at the 25-yard line, and he spun forward to the 27. And there is a Packer hurt on the play. It's Whitaker. Is 1st and 10 on the Green Bay 27, 8:47 to the half, and the Pack leading 7-0. And Pat Hayden is out, having been injured. This is Atkins. You know, John, a few minutes ago on the punt, it looked like Fred Nixon gave half of a fair catch call, and I wonder, as we maybe look at it again, whether you teach a punt receiver to kind of hedge on the fair catch, trying to confuse the coverage coming downfield.
Well, we always did, you know, especially the old one where you would signal for a fair catch, make them come under control, and then block them so the ball would get to go into the end zone. That one just looked like hesitation.
Of course, you better block above the waist.
Well, now you can't block.
2nd and 10 on the 27-yard line. Koch helping Jack Youngblood up.
Illegal snap.
A busted play and a false start against the Packers. We can duck in a couple more scores. Atlanta, after a narrow escape last week, pulverizing San Francisco 34-17, and they will meet Cleveland, fresh from beating Cincinnati 20-17. We'll be looking at that one next week, John. That ought to be a barn burner.
That'll be a great one.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta may be the best team in the NFC right now.
Vince Evans has Chicago on the move, 28-17. And here's next Sunday, Atlanta, Cleveland. We'll look at that one. Minnesota at Green Bay, the Giants at Dallas, and the Saints at San Francisco. Check your listings for the game and time in your area, beginning with the NFL today. 2nd and 15 on the Packer 22, with 8:10 left of the half. Here comes Atkins, boxed in by Perry, and he fumbled, picked up by Joe Harris. Harris is to the 5, into the end zone. What a hit by Larry Brooks to trigger the fumble.
Hey, that's the 3rd fumble that we've seen so far, and of course it's a big play for the Rams. They haven't been doing it offensively. The defense has been a little lethargic, but watch this one. We start out here, it's a little pitch, we see the line, but watch Brooks. Watch the hit that he puts on, and as he hit him, he also grabbed his outside hand. All Harris had to do was take it into the end zone.
And all Rod Perry had to do was not trip up Harris and get out of his way.
Get out of the way, Rod. Here I go. There's something there at the end of that.
So now, Larry Brooks, who started it with that severe hit on Steve Atkins. Joe Harris will get the headline for recovering and running at 21 yards for a touchdown. It is 7-6 Green Bay, and one good turn deserves another. Each side profiting by a fumble. Mike Corral kicks it through. So we're just warming up. There's one of the heroes, Joe Harris, a special man on special teams. On the special teams.
The one you didn't mention is I had him for a couple weeks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. There's another one of my mistakes. I have them all over the league.
This is kind of a true confession day for John
Right,
Madden.
and I go out to these games and practice, and I talk to these players, and it's a homecoming day. Hey, remember when you cut me, huh? I'm sorry.
Frank Corral kicking to Fred Nixon at the Packer 5-yard line. And Nixon to the 20, maybe to the 25, and still on his feet. Boy, he's a tough nut to crack. 5'11", 190, and somebody finally got angry.
I'll tell you, that was Lucius Smith coming in there at the end.
And number 42 for the Rams, which is Kirk Collins, a one-year man out of Baylor. He was really ticked off. There's so much skirmishing going on down there in the bottom of the pile.
I know it. It was great. It was right in the dirt. You know, we had the dirt and the dust flying and the bodies flying in there. And
Looked like an elephant stampede.
I know it. I wonder. Oh, it's going to be both, huh, Jerry? Well, talk to us. I guess he's not going to talk to us. I didn't even cut him, and he won't talk to us. But watch here. His feet are still going. Look, he has 4, 5, 6 guys. Now watch here. Here comes some more bodies in here. Uh-oh.
Down
there
at the
was
bottom
a swing.
of that pile is the Ram #1 draft choice this year, and the fellow who made the initial hit, Mel Owens. And I guess first-round draft choices, they don't get much chance to play, so when they do play, they kind of tear your head off.
They have to get in some action now. They called a 15-yard personal foul against both teams, so the ball stays where it is.
And it's 1st and 10 as Freddie Dryer squints through the Southern California sun and waits. The ball on the Packer 25. I've got to ask you about the Dryer situation here, John, in a moment, because it's a big story, certainly in Southern California. Dickey, who hit on 6 for 6 earlier today, will complete it to Turdell Middleton at about the 30-yard line, but there's a flag on the play. So maybe anything new in your mind? Do you have any hunches on Dryer?
I think so. I think that it'll be resolved next week. I would expect that today may be Fred Dryer's last day in a Ram uniform.
And also seeing Pat Hayden go out, that might also force the other issue as far as Pastorini is concerned.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Fred Dryer would be leaving the Rams and Dan Pastorini would be joining them.
That would be an educated guess.
It's some kind of guess.
Number 68 offense.
So that's against Greg Koch. Bart Starr a little bit ticked off on that holding call, so the ball is back on the Packer 15-yard line. 1st and 20 on the 15, but of course that's where the Packers started when they finally went on to score after Tyler's fumble. They recovered on their own 15. 1st and 20. Cody Jones, and now the Packer playbook is causing trouble. The last man in the world who expected to get the ball was Atkins.
I'll tell you, I don't know why he was I don't know why he didn't expect it, because he was the only back there. See, he turns. Oh, I see what happened. It was supposed to be a handoff. He missed the handoff. Now, really, Dickey should have just fallen on the ball there. After you missed the handoff, then he tried to give it and pitch it to him again. Now Lynch should know better than that. I mean, it was probably Atkins's fault that he went too soon, but after you do that, the best thing to do is just drop down. You can't make a toss out of it.
So it is 1st and goal on the Packer 2. The Rams get their second big break. Remember, they recovered the Atkins fumble, and Joe Harris ran it in. Now the busted play, and he'll go to Wendell Tyler. Touchdown. It took a while to call it before they ruled he had broken the flames. Well, we had said earlier the Packers had not allowed any points in the first half this year. They haven't allowed any. They've just given them away.
Watch this. The Packers are down low. Now Tyler will come in following a lead and leap for 4 yards right over the top. Look, he's still fighting. Now that all the ball has to do is break the plane of the goal line. Did you see him put the right arm out there with the ball? That broke the plane. That means touchdown.
And it also means a 13-7 Ram lead. And Frank Corral, who has kicked 56 consecutive points, trying for 57. It's a Heinz variety. It's 14-7 in favor of Los Angeles. Bryant was taking care of Cumby, and Wingo tried to hold a flying Wendell Tyler, but he couldn't do it. So thanks to the Packer generosity, the Rams are leading 14-7. And the Packers have plenty of time to go back in to the dressing room, at least even, and then some. You had 7.5 minutes. A quick shot of Lynn Dickey, frustrated on the sidelines. Fred Nixon is standing on the Packer 5-yard line. And Corral not kicking that deep, and Nixon this time will take it from the 3 to the 15, 20. Joe Harris is the first man to wrap him up, and then Mike Gooman, number 44, on top. It was Harris once again making an unheralded play this time.
You know, we can talk about the strengths of teams, but these turnovers have so much to do with wins and losses. Look at the teams that in 2 games have had a lot of turnovers. All 0-2, 0-2, 0-2.
Yeah, but let me ask you something. Supposing the Packers have 5 turnovers today, but supposing the Rams have 4 turnovers.
Well, that's the most important thing. It's ratio of turnovers. I used to hate to have turnovers, but I figured if we're going to have some, then let the other team have the equal number and we'll be okay.
You know why I asked you that?
Why?
Because you taught me that. 1st and 10 on the Packer 23. Jim Jensen, who was just recently signed, used to be the big running back for Denver, now is the setback. Lewis in motion. Dickey looking left and going left, and he's got his man Lewis, and so does Johnny Johnson, and he was stepped out of bounds.
You know, talking about that and turnovers, there was really no reason for that last one. It looked like the Packers offense is just starting to self-destruct on that last one. Now here, Dickey's coming back, getting the ball, you know, throwing, getting a first down, getting the ball out there, 2nd and 1.
That's another thing, I guess. The Rams are not looking for too much offensive firepower now that Hayden is sidelined. Would you expect them to be very conservative offensively?
I think they were going to be anyway. You know, before Pat Hayden got hurt, I think they meant to be more conservative. You know, sometimes when things are going bad, 0-2, you tend to become more conservative.
Well, Dickey turning Jensen loose, and Jensen upended on a beautiful hit by Pat Thomas and cartwheeled him at about the 37-yard line. A note on Jim Jensen: he was originally a 2nd-round choice from Dallas and traded to Denver.
Now, that was a little funny handoff there. That was a combination between a handoff and a pitch. Did you see that? He started to hand off and then gave a little pitch. And look at this right at the end. Watch Pat Thomas. He knows right where to go. He doesn't take them on high. He makes them do somersaults.
By the way, Jensen missed the 78 season because of a knee injury, and that was close to another one. 1st and 10 on the 38. That's Kaufman, who is everywhere today. And it's a draw to Jensen. And he is met by Eckern and Youngblood, and he still fought for a couple. So Jim Jensen, who was Denver's #1 rusher last year, he rushed for 476 yards and also caught 49 passes.
Watch the draw here. See the line? They make it look like pass protection. Get those tackles up the field, and then Jensen had the hole until he ran into Carl Eckern, number 55.
So it is 2nd and 6. The ball is on the Packer 42. They started on the 23. Middleton is back in there, the deep man behind Jensen. And they'll try Turdell. And so does Jack Youngblood, and he got away from Jack Youngblood. And he's still going. He needs a block from Jensen on Perry, and he's going to be caught from behind. Johnny Johnson caught him from behind because Jensen couldn't get the block. Wow.
Or maybe had Middleton stayed to the outside. It looks like he didn't have to make this cut to the inside, but look at the great moves that he makes here. There's Youngblood. Jack has him by one leg. He said, I can't get there. I got to go to the other side. Let me see what I can't go there. I got to go back to the other side. Now I better get going upfield. Okay, Jensen, 33, go and get a block for me. Now he should have stayed out. Stay out there. Stay out there. See, when he cut back in, then that gave Johnny Johnson time to catch him from behind.
So he went 34 yards on that play. It's 1st and 10 on the Ram 23. That was quite a run by Turdell Middleton. He needs a breather. Jensen carrying the ball literally like a loaf of bread.
Well, I think, you know, they had the trouble. Of course, Ellis is out with an injury. They had Atkins play fullback, the 2nd fullback, and they probably said, look, Jim Jensen, we're having too much trouble in there. You go in there, just hold on to the ball. That's what Bart told him. Isn't that right? Yeah, thanks, Bart. Oh, right. There's a signal for the next play. He said, just hold on to the ball and get us some yards.
Well, it is 2nd and 8 on the 21. You're the master of the understatement. You know that? Wide right is Fred Nixon, and left is James Lofton. We haven't seen Lofton in a while. Harlan Huckleby is in there with Jensen. Huckleby stays in the block. Dickey has Lofton, so we were wondering where he was, and there he is.
I think he heard you. I think that Dickey was in the huddle, and he heard you say we hadn't have Lofton. Dickey says, that's a good idea, Vin, thanks. So he says, I'll drop back. There's Lofton. Look, see to my left? Boom, I'll just pop him out there and then out. Okay, now just get outside and get the first down.
You know why they're cheering? Fred Dreyer has just come in on defense. Fred Dryer, who has become the stormy story here in Southern California. Number 89 has just been recognized by the crowd. He's the defensive end on the right side. Been with the Rams since '72.
You think he likes this coming in on the 13-yard line? Say, stop him, Fred.
He better like it. Dickey looking for Jensen at the 10, and he is wrapped up by Jim Youngblood and Pat Thomas somewhere around the 7-yard line.
You know, I'm really impressed with this drive because Lynn Dickey had a bad thing happen to him in the last possession when he had the fumble. The Rams got the score, but he has really come in here and they've moved the ball. He's mixed up running pass. This is an all-pro drive we're seeing.
The ball is spotted on the 8. Look at those old-time receivers. Lofton getting very close.
Talking about all pros, there's a lot of them in that group.
2nd and 5 on the 8-yard line, and they're going to try Middleton wide. Turned in, and he spun away from Pat Thomas inside the 5. In fact, they're going to mark it at the 5-yard line.
You know, we talked last week that Cromwell made a lot of tackles. It seems like Pat Thomas is making a lot of tackles today, doesn't it? I'll tell you, he is really something. They talk about him. Oh, there goes Fred Dryer out, and now they're booing. They said 2 plays, Fred. That's all you get. Thank you.
Well, Dryer went in on the right side, and the plays went away from him. I don't know if that's a tribute to him or not.
Well, I think it's kind of warm out there, and maybe they're just trying to give some of the defensive linemen a rest, and they said that's enough of a rest.
All right, 3rd and 2 on the 5-yard line. Cody Jones is back in for Dryer on the right side. Jensen and Middleton behind Dickey, and it is Middleton in a sea of white and then swallowed up by blue. I don't believe from our angle he made it. However, he did give it the extra burst, and they're going to have to measure.
This is a big, big measurement because if they didn't make it, then they have a decision. Do they go for the field goal or the first down?
Do measurements or did measurements drive you crazy when you were a coach?
Right. Well, I was always crazy, but they drove me crazier, more crazy, because it's wherever the guy puts his foot down. Look, if they put that ball straight, it may be a first down. Sometimes they turn it. Look, the guy has their feet in here. Look at that guy. He has big feet. That's Sinkovitz, I think. They look like about size 12. If one foot goes down, it'll be good enough for a first down. The other foot, it's not.
Well, let's see now. As you said, a very big play.
Then they stretch these babies out. I'll tell you, they stretch them.
Oh, look at that.
Huh?
They made it. They made it by an inch of pigskin. They made it. They made it by an oink.
By an oink. That's even a half an oink. Watch this now. As you said, though, Ben, right at the end is where Middleton picked this up because he doesn't have it yet. He doesn't have it now, but watch this little move right at the end. He got enough to pick up the oink.
So they have spotted it on the 3-yard line where it's 1st and goal. They want Lewis to go wide left. So that means Swanky, remember, is a tight end on the right side. Jensen and Middleton and Lewis in motion. They're going to go to Jensen. And he takes a belt. He got maybe a yard. Carl Eckman is at the bottom, and Leroy Irvin on top. The Rams, of course, had Reynolds go and Brzezinski go.
I was just going to say that. And Carl Eckman looks like he's doing a good job of filling in. He leads his team in tackles, and he stopped Jensen right in his tracks. And you have to do that on a goal line. We have a little time.
It was furnished by the National Football League, and that message is furnished by the Green Bay guys from Pulaski.
Pulaski, he ought to be playing left defensive tackle in the short yardage defense.
They tell me the temperature back at Green Bay the other day was in the 40s. Didn't you say that Jerry Ellis said he worked out wearing thermals?
He was saying that last week in practice he was wearing thermals, and yesterday was about 95 degrees.
Well, we have 2 minutes to the half. It is 14-7 Rams, who have capitalized on 2 big Packer mistakes. And now the Packers trying to get a move on. Starting from their own 23, they've moved it 2nd and goal on the Ram 2 as they try to get even. Jensen and Middleton behind Dickey. They'll go to Middleton. And Middleton butts heads with Eckern again, and he didn't make it. Reggie Doss at the bottom, and Carl Eckern hit him head on.
Well, we probably wonder why we saw Cromwell on the side. You see, he comes out in short yardage, and they have the extra linebackers in there. Now watch here. Middleton looks like he has the hole. Eckern makes the tackle, doesn't let him allow to get that extra fall forward. So now they need about an oink and a half.
Well, Turdell Middleton has a nickname, TD. Let's see if they call him again on the 3rd and goal from the 1. Kaufman, the tight end, is on the right. They go to Jensen. He didn't make it. He was blindsided from the left side, and he never had a chance. Well, quickly, if you're Bart Starr, would you rather go for 3 or would you gamble for a touchdown?
No, I would kick the field goal right now because he's already tried 3 times and he didn't gain anything at all. That time, we watch this. Now watch the right side. See, they don't get any movement. The left side of the Rams defense gets penetration, and then Jensen can't turn the ball up.
Well, Jan Stenerud, 15 years out of Montana State, born in Norway, and for 13 years, kicker for Kansas City. One of the all-time greats will try to soccer style it through. He thumped it, and it's good. But for Stenerud, one of the all-time greats, and we mean that with George Blanda on top. Blanda must have been something, John.
He was. I think he was the fiercest competitor that I've ever known. Look at that. He scored a lot of points, too.
Wow.
But George never wanted to lose anything. And I'll tell you, when he last played, he was 49 years old, and he was representing not only himself, but every middle-aged person in the world.
Packer hurt on the play. You can't quite make out the number. It is 14-10 in favor of the Rams.
Say, but they very well could be because they know what they have to do.
A knuckleball down to the middle. That's Reggie Doss sitting on top of the teammate who fielded the ball. And the Rams will put it in play somewhere around the 27 or the 28. It was Irv Pankey, number 75, who fielded that ground ball. We have 29 seconds. The Packers feeling they did not want to risk a run back from Drew Hill. And, of course, he can bust him. And Jeff Rutledge is coming in. And for you folks who weren't here earlier, this is why Rutledge is playing.
Rutledge. We're going to see it coming right from the outside here from Butler to his right. See right there, he didn't see Butler come, and boom, he really got, and it's a sternum injury.
1st and 10 on the Ram 28. It's Wendell Tyler weaving his way and gets out across the 40-yard line before Harvey can tie him up.
Rams are trying to get a timeout, but they didn't get it. Now Rutledge finally got the referee's attention. They just lost 6 of them, but I like to have 2 different people punt and kick.
1st and 10 on the Ram 41-yard line, and here's Cullen Bryant, and a good hit by Mike Douglas, who got him at the ankles. That was a textbook tackle.
That sure wasn't. He's that type of do that.
2nd and 6 on the 45. So the Rams have to get at least another 20-some-odd yards. And they're going to try and do it now. Rutledge throwing to Waddy. No good. Mark Lee and Billy Waddy bumping a little bit, but it is ruled a legitimate play.
And the Rams sideline was upset. They wanted a call here, and I think that maybe they could have. Watch here. We'll see Mark Lee right here. Now they're both going up the field. And there's a little bump there. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He has as much right to the ball as Waddy does.
Mark Lee has 6 brothers and 5 sisters. He is certainly accustomed to fighting his way to an objective.
Right, and probably a lot of bumps. Getting to the dinner table, you know, there's probably 8 chairs and 11 people fighting for him. It's odd man out type of thing.
You know, when he was in spring training for the Packers, they said they timed him running the 40 and 4.4, which seems a little close to impossible. Rutledge going deep down the right side. Mark Lee defending, and he has broken it up. Moore was down there, and it looked like Lee had a better chance of catching it. And time has run out, and John, we take another look at it.
I think, you know, just for a second here, Jeff Moore had the ball right there. Well, it looked like Lee had it also. They both had it for a second, and it ended up on the ground.
And it has ended up here in Southern California.
The end of the first half, that may be enough for them to win this game.
So Frank Corral and the Rams will be kicking off. And deep is Fred Nixon standing on the Packer 3-yard line, and it is a short kick. It'll be taken and fumbled at the 10, but then Nixon recovers and is going to be dragged down just shy about the 18-yard line. It was the first-round draft choice again, Mel Owens, who made the tackle. And there are the first half stats, and of course the glaring one, the yards passing. What that -17 translates into, they passed for 10 yards, and they were sacked for 27, so it comes up a -17.
Right, and the other one, the big one right down there in the bottom, turnovers, where the Packers had 3 and the Rams had 1. That's really the story of that first half.
Well, we'll see about the story of the second half now. It is 1st and 10 on the Packer 18. Nixon goes wide right and Lofton wide left. Rod Perry is on Lofton. Middleton and Jensen are the running backs. Remember, Ellis hurt his ankle. Jensen trying to slant across the left side, but the Rams read that play perfectly and stacked it up with Eckern and Fanning, and at the bottom, Larry Brooks.
Was that a capsule thing when you said to do it in a capsule? Was that
I think so, yeah.
In a large capsule.
A space capsule. We didn't have much space. 2nd and 8 on the 20-yard line. Lynn Dickey at one stage had 6 in a row. 2nd and 8 on the 20. In motion is the tight end who's omnipresent today. That's Paul Kaufman. Dickey hesitating, and now with Cody Jones behind him, throws all alone to Turdell Middleton. There's a flag on the play. Perry tripped him up at the 20-yard line, but hold everything. The flag is back on about the Packer 15-yard line, so it looks like that'll go down the drain.
Right, and it's back in the area that they're going to call holding on the offense.
So on a 2nd and 8 from the 20-yard line, the penalty evidently will go against, and this is an awful thing to do to anybody, Sid Kitson.
You know, those are the things that really hurt, you know, and you don't see in the newspaper when you read the accounts tomorrow that in essence isn't only a 10-yard penalty. That's about a 60-yard penalty for holding.
Offense.
And the 79 is Konkar. So what would have been a great play, and probably was only a great play because of the penalty in the first place.
Well, you know, and Konkar really did a good job of pass protection. Dickey had a scramble, remember, and as he was moving, that's when Konkar got the holding penalty. It was a late holding penalty.
So it is 2nd and 18 from the 10-yard line. Jensen and Huckleby, and it'll be Jensen. And he's out to about the 13-yard line. Harlan Huckleby, doesn't that remind you of Charles Dickens?
That's a great name, Harlan Huckleby. I don't know if he should be a running back. You know, I think maybe a defensive lineman. You know, like a nose tackle. You know, Tough Hurryin' Harlan Huckleby.
That's it, Hurryin' Harlan. The Giants leading New Orleans 13-0. Denver out in front of Baltimore 14-3 in the third quarter. So 3rd and 15. The ball is on the Packer 13-yard line. It is 14-10 Rams, and Dickey trying to get his ball club moving. Lofton is right, Nixon left. Hoffman staying in the block, and there's a hit. The hit is by Rod Perry on Fred Nixon to break that up.
And you see Pat Thomas is over there to congratulate him. These are 2 great corners, and they've been really one of the strengths of the Rams defense, of these 2 corners. Watch Perry come in, boom. Now he arrived there right at the time the ball did. That's a legal play.
I know you remember that was an 83-yard touchdown interception by Rod Perry against Green Bay last year, and a very interested observer is John Jefferson.
He's thinking, I would have caught that one. JJ, he probably would have been run 80 yards with it.
Leroy Irvin is deep, just about in midfield. Stakowicz gets his punt away, and Irvin backtracking to the Ram 45. And Huckleby was just leveled, and flags everywhere. Ivory Sully hit Harlan Huckleby, and let's see if there's a penalty on that.
Oh yeah, there sure is, and that's the reason that there's a penalty is the hit that Ivory put on, because it was in the back. And we'll see it again. We'll see it right here. We used to always have the rule, if you can read his name, don't block him. You see, and he hit him right in the numbers, right in the back.
So Harlan Huckleby is clipped by Ivory Sully, and in a moment that penalty would be exacted against the Rams. By the way, we get a report that Pat Hayden is in street clothes and is now on the Ram bench. In fact, he is seated on the bench with Doug France. And the preliminary report we got was that Hayden dodged a bullet, that he could have been seriously injured, and the preliminary x-rays show he was not. There is Pat, sitting with another fella banged up, Doug France, who has a bad shoulder.
And they're talking about it. Looks like Doug France was pointing to the position where it happened. And
illegal
I don't,
block above
Pat,
the waist from the rear, number 37 on the return.
You can't do that when they're talking. You can't talk. But what I was saying was, you know that Pat Hayden never did see that coming, and I think Doug France was explaining it to him.
You know, the only time we can't talk, when they count down to 1 and they're down to 2, 1, adios. It is 1st and 10 Rams on their own 35-yard line. Rams leading Green Bay 14-10. Cullen Bryant and Wendell Tyler behind Jeff Rutledge, who is in at quarterback for the injured Pat Hayden. That's Tyler. Mike Douglas grabbed him from behind as he got across the 40-yard line and dropped him at about the 42.
You see Mike Butler run through there, number 77. They didn't even block him, and Tyler ran right by him. Butler saying, what happened? Let's watch it from the rear here. We'll see right on the right side. We'll see Butler come up the field. See right there, and Tyler just ran right by him, cut inside. Look, there's Butler saying, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. We got him. I'm okay.
Mike Douglas trailed the play all the way. So it is 2nd and 3 on the 41-yard line of the Rams. Justin Denard wide left. They're going to stay on the ground. And John, I guess, with the rookie at the wheel, they're going to stay close. There's Pat Hayden. You can see the left arm is getting some support. A severe bruise somewhere on the ribs or up around the sternum, the collarbone area.
I would think so, because that's usually how they would do that, for the sternum or collarbone. And then maybe that thing around the waist could also be for the rib.
It is 1st and 10 on the Ram 46. A hard-working Cullen Bryant is the short man out of the eye. Second man, Tyler, started right, cut back, and he cut into the hands of a couple of defenders. But it was still a good move, and that's John Anderson, number 59. He's the man who broke his arm 3 times.
We'll see this again. It looked like it was a delay type thing. See, he starts in, bounces to the out. Look at those cuts. He's with great balance and movement. Now he's making a few moves, and of course it didn't have any effect on John Anderson because he was coming from the side.
You know, Wendell Tyler only had 30 carries all last year. So the Rams have to be better now that he is physically better. There's a lick laid in there on Cullen Bryant by Cumby. Last year, Wendell Tyler had a dislocated hip in an automobile accident in July. Later on, a hyperextended elbow. Meanwhile, Bryant, of course, 6'1", 236, he just grinds them out.
He sure does. And I'll tell you, that's not fun for those linebackers to have to sit in there, take on a block of a big guard like Hara or Hill coming on them, and then after they get rid of that, boom, they have to take Cullen Bryant. Look at this one.
They're doing in New Orleans, 20-0. The same New Orleans team that upset the Rams last week. Rutledge is going to be grabbed by Casey Merrill, and Mike Douglas was holding on to Merrill. The big Casey was in there. Remember, he recovered the Tyler fumble earlier that led to the first Green Bay touchdown.
Let's see if we can see Casey Merrill again. I think that this is, of course, the Rams haven't passed a lot, but this is probably the worst job of pass protecting that I have ever seen them do. The quarterback just doesn't have a chance.
Of course, a lot of people should have pointed that out before Pat Hayden's injury. The offensive line for the Rams has gotten a lot of tremendous publicity about how good they are.
Well, they are good. They're really quite a group. But look at that, 4 sacks today. You shouldn't allow that many in 10 games.
2nd and 25 from the 42. Rutledge high down the middle is Drew Hill. Just overthrew him, maybe 1 step.
I tell you, that was wide open. That was one of those double zones where the safeties both rotated to the outside, and we'll see Hill get right into the middle of it. Now, of course, we watch the pass protection here. It's a stunt. They pick it up. Whoop. Rutledge looks to the right, finds Hill in the middle. Look, both safeties had rotated to the outside, and there was nothing between Drew Hill and the goal line except grass and dirt.
Well, Jeff Rutledge, who came to the Rams with a great reputation, he broke Joe Namath's touchdown pass record at Alabama when he threw 30. So he's got to have a lot of ability, even though he hasn't had a chance to show it. And Merrill's got him again. Casey Merrill with yet another sack.
You know, one thing now, Casey Merrill is listed as a right end. In that situation, he was playing right tackle, and he came over the left guard, number 72, Kent Hill, on that play. So, you know, it's not always the way they're listed on the starting lineup, because they do move them around. Green Bay goes from a 3-man line to a 4-man line in passing situation.
And the Rams went from a 2nd and 2 on the Packer 47 to a 4th and 29 on the Ram 34. And you're looking at Fred Nixon, the deep man. Johnny Gray is about 7 yards in front of him. The wideout for the Rams can't get down there, so that means Nixon has a chance to get across the 30 to the 35. Lucius Smith is the wideout, number 23, but he was picked up and could never get to the punt receiver. So it's 1st and 10 on the Packer 38, 14-10 Rams. Jeff Rutledge, since he's been in there, has been sacked 3 times. And the Packers, trailing by 4 points, have it 1st and 10 on their own 38. Hoffman in motion wide left, so they have a slot left with Lofton. Play action fake to Jensen. They set up a screen to Middleton, and Pat Thomas just ran right through the playbook and dumped him.
And then there's another tackle by Pat Thomas. I bet you he's made 7 or 8 tackles. Did you see that sideline shot of Dan Radakovich? He's the offensive line coach. He was working on Kent Hill. He was working on his jersey to keep it tight. You know, he was playing because they tape their shoulder pads to their jerseys. As we watch this play, a little fake in the line, throws out here to the screen. Now watch Pat Thomas come up, and he always hits him in the same place. Did you notice that?
Sure does.
He's always right at it below the knee.
He could be a shoe salesman when he finishes. Why? He's down there. 2nd and 14 on the 34. The motion is Kaufman, picked up by Nolan Cromwell. And under the rush, down goes Dickey. Coming in from the right side, they couldn't pick him up, was Ivory Sully. And then Jim Youngblood came in, but here's the kid who really did it.
We'll see. You know, the Rams, just about on every passing down, have blitzed a linebacker and or safety. We see it here. There's Sully. There's Youngblood right there, both a safety and a linebacker. Jack Youngblood, hands in the hip, saying, not bad, guys. Pretty good play.
That was the 3rd sack for the Rams, so it's 5-3 sacks in favor of the Packers. There's Pat Hayden with that arm being supported. In the previous 2 games, Dickey was sacked 9 times by the Rams. Now he sets up and throws. No good. It was intended, surprisingly enough, for Andre Thompson, who has a hamstring, and we were told we would not see him. But there he is.
Well, of course, the Rams were in their 5 defensive backs, and the Packers were trying to get as many wide receivers as they could out there, so they had 3 out there, and that was what brought Andre Thompson into the game.
Well, Ray Stankiewicz, who has been averaging 40 yards a punt, one of the reasons they picked him, drafted him number 3, they say he's a great cold weather player. He played at Michigan State, and he figures to see a little cold weather with Green Bay. The punt right now is to Leroy Irvin at the 33, and see you later. At the bottom is Whitaker. They hit him immediately. That would be Bill Whitaker, a rookie out of Missouri. They say he's a big play man. He just made one. 1st and 10 on the Ram 34. Jeff Rutledge with an I formation. Tyler, the deep man, behind Bryant. 14-10 Rams. And here comes Tyler with Bryant blocking on Douglas. And while Douglas was slowing up the block, Tyler was caught from behind by Cumbie.
Of course, that's the important thing, you know, as we start up the field, you know, to keep him where he can't get outside. Okay, now watch Jackie Slater on the offside against Butler. They're fighting all the way down the field. He said, Butler, you got in twice. You aren't going to do it anymore. Butler's saying, he was holding me.
And on the other side, Casey Merrill has 2 sacks. We'll probably take a look at him in a little while. Take a look at that. 21-10 Denver in the 3rd. 2nd and 8 on the 37. Rutledge on a quick right side pass, and he threw it out of bounds. He almost completed it to James Lofton.
James Lofton catches a lot of passes, you know, and he's in the open most of the time. He's very tough to cover, and the Packers didn't see him, and they left him there. He was just a little wide.
So it's 3rd and 8 on the 37 for young Jeff Rutledge. 3 years out of Alabama. He had mononucleosis last year and was on the injured reserve. You look at a very thoughtful Ram bench. Nolan Cromwell, maybe thinking of beautiful days back in Kansas 3rd and 8 on the 37. Rutledge with Hara and Slater keeping Butler out. And it is intercepted by Harvey. Maurice is to the 40, to the 35, to the 30. Harvey to the 25, and Cullen Bryant tackled him at about the 17 or 18-yard line. Face mask will be against Cullen Bryant, so to add to it, it'll be a face mask penalty against Bryant, the tackler. Interception by your man, Maurice Harvey.
My man, he's Harvey. He's going to keep that ball. He says, I'm going to keep it and take it home with me. I don't want you to have it. Now, watch Rutledge here. The ball, as he throws it, it gets away from a little. It took off on, but watch Harvey. He's only 5'10". He got up about 6'9" that time. He has a little hamstring problem. I'm surprised he made this cut here. But he did. He said, I want some more yardage. Maybe a touchdown. But right there, there's the face mask right there. Did you see Cullen Bryant?
So it's a 43-yard play with the interception, return, and the penalty. And it is 1st and 10 on the Ram 12-yard line. Boy, there have been a lot of mistakes.
And you don't think those turnovers can change a game. I mean, the Rams had things going, they had a little lead, now boom, the Packers are knocking at the door.
Jensen and Middleton behind Dickey, and it's Jim Jensen, and he squeezes across the 10 to about the 7 or 8 yard line, picked up close to 4, and it was George Andrews who finally brought him down along with Cody Jones.
And of course, Jerry Ellis, I'm sure they'd like to have him in there now, but he had an ankle injury. They taped it up, and they're not sure if we'll see him anymore this half. I would think if we were going to, we would see him now.
Jensen has done an excellent job just being signed. Little did number 33, Jensen, realize he was going to figure so prominently. And he's carrying a big load along with Curdell Middleton. So to 2nd and 5, they spotted it on the Rams 7. And the Pack trying for a go-ahead play. That's Middleton, and he is stopped up by Jack Youngblood. I think that's the first time we've mentioned Jack's name today.
I think so. And, you know, the one thing, the last time the Packers, look at that dust and the dirt. The guys are sweating, and this is great.
You like that, dust and dirt, and the guys are sweating.
Yeah, guys sweating, they smell a little out there. But you know,
you're heavy into deodorant.
Right, the last time that the Packers were down here, they didn't have any success, and they had to settle for a field goal. I would have thought that they may have gone for a play pass and try and pass the ball into the end zone, because they really, in this area, haven't had any success running.
Well, it is 3rd and 6 on the 8, where they lost a yard on that play. Dickey trying to go wide with Middleton, and he's going to be punched down shy of the 5, maybe the 6-yard line. And I'll tell you, the Rams are showing a lot of spirit now defensively. Jim Youngblood along with Pat Thomas in there.
Bart Starr's probably saying, geez, we should have passed one of those, and I'm surprised that they didn't. They, you know, that does take something out of your team, and they got down there once, and they had to settle for a field goal, and now they have to do it again. And they had 6 yards, and they're trying to run a sweep here. We see the line coming at. We see him turning up. Middleton trying to get it turned up. It's well contained, and of course there's 3 or 4 Rams right there in the dust. Look, I love that stuff.
So it is 4th to go on the 4. Stackowitz holding, and Stenerud kicks it up, and it's good. So with 4:45 left in the 3rd quarter, the Rams 14, Green Bay 13. But for the very conservative, they trail now 14-13. But maybe there's a good point on their conservatism, John.
Right. They may feel that the Rams can't move the ball with Pat Hayden out, and they're going to get a lot more chances at that goal line today.
Well, let's see what Drew Hill does. He's going to be to the 20, and he's met head on and dropped down at about the 23-yard line. The man who had him was McCoy. So the Rams will put it in play, but they have Jeff Rutledge at quarterback. And while they huddle, we have time to remind you, tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes, followed by Archie Bunker's Place, one day at a time. Then there's Alice, followed by the Jeffersons. Florence, I understand, gets a job she just can't refuse, but can she live up to it? That's all tonight on CBS with Trapper John M.D. hitting cleanup.
What a lineup that is, huh?
Great. 1st and 10 on the Ram 23. What looked like a full house, suddenly Waddy comes up on the wing. And Waddy goes in motion with Bryant and Tyler. And they'll go to Tyler with Kent Hill blocking outside. And there goes Wendell around Tyler's block. And he stepped out of bounds at around the 41-yard line. Big Kent Hill, who looks like a movable tree. He's 6'5" and 260. And Tyler ran around him. Now there's a one-man screen for you, Kent Hill.
That is, and he can run. You know, Kent Hill, as we see him here, number 72, he's pulling out in front of Tyler. He's saying, just follow me, come on out here. See, I'll get the block, I'll turn him in, you get to the outside. And of course, he just stepped out of bounds right there. See the right foot? The chalk flew.
So first and 10.
Excuse me, Kent Hill may be as fast as Wendell Tyler.
He's something. First and 10 on the 39 for the Rams, leading by 1 point. Rutledge staying with Tyler again inside. Bryant's block, fumbled, and it looks like the pack might have recovered. John Anderson was one man, and the other man was Terry Jones.
Look at Zeke Bradkowski. He's saying, I knew that we should have run the ball down there, kicked the field goal. I knew that we're going to get it back. I know that we're going to get a lot more shots at that end zone. There's Jerry Ellis right there.
And Ellis, who has been out since early in the game with a sore ankle. Wondering whether he is ready to come back at all. Meanwhile, Jeff Rutledge talking to Ray Malavasi. Big load on this kid. And of course, you said early in the game you had a hunch that the Rams were going to sign Pastorini, although we don't have any inside information on it. But with Hayden out, they really are hurting on that score.
They tried Pastorini out. They gave him a physical. He passed both of those, and now all they have to do is agree to some contract.
First and 10 on the 38, but it's a busted play. In agreeing on the contract, John, you have to buy the contract, but don't they have to pay part of the salary and Oakland pay the other part? How does that work?
Well, that's a tough thing. You see, they have a contract. He has a contract with Oakland, and if he doesn't play another down, Oakland has to pay that contract.
And that's like, what, $350,000 a year, I understand.
Well, and over the thing, it's over $1 million.
Encroachment, number 79 defense, contact prior to the snap.
That's Mike Fanning. Go ahead, John.
Right, so what they're talking about is if the Rams do sign him, whatever those monies are, they're subtracted from what the Raiders do. And then the Rams are saying, well, the Raiders have to pay him. Pastorini's agent is saying, look, we already earned what we're getting from the Raiders. Now we want something else from you.
First and 5 on the Ram 33, and there's 33 himself. That's Jensen getting to about the 30-yard line. 6 turnovers in the game, but as you mentioned earlier, the turnovers are not only close, in this case they're even 3 apiece, and consequently the game is very close.
And that's why it's 14-13.
In favor of the Rams, with 4 minutes left in the third, and we can see Oakland leading Seattle 13-10 in the fourth. The Giants knocking Orleans 20-0 in the third.
Who are they knocking?
Orleans.
Is that short for New Orleans?
Yeah, I didn't have time. I'm editing my copy. First and 5 on the 33. And Dickey will go to Turdell Middleton. He tried to get outside. Cody Jones slowed him down, and then Johnny Johnson, among others, finally got him, and there's a flag on the play.
Remember the forward pass? Remember when guys used to come back and they'd throw the pass? It seems this looks like it's turning into a run scrimmage here.
Well, let's see. Hayden was 1 for 2 for 6 yards. Rutledge 1 for 6. So the Rams have completed 2 passes for minus 40 yards. Meanwhile, shaken up on the play is Greg Koch, 5-year man out of Arkansas, and there's going to be a face mask penalty. And I assume it'll be against the Rams since they're on the defense.
Right, it'll be against the Rams, and it'll be enough for a Packer first down. Maybe they don't have to pass. Maybe the Rams will self-destruct and have enough penalties to get the Packers in the end zone.
So there's your automatic first down to the 20. See where they spot it, just beyond the 28, almost the 27-yard line.
Face mask, number 52 defense, first down.
So it is first and 10 on the Ram 27, 3:35 left in the third. And if you want to know the guilty party, it was George Andrews. Fred Nixon goes wide right. Off in the tight end is a tight end, and that's news. He's on the right side. He's been all over the field today. Lofton is wide left. Play action fake to Jensen, and Dickey is going to pass on a bounce, and no fair there, and Andrews knocks down Middleton.
I don't know. He looked over there to the left, and out here on the right, he had a receiver that I think he could have gotten the ball to. It looked like Fred Nixon had some room out here on the right sideline.
How about the penalties? They're reasonably close.
55 yards and 75 yards, and the turnovers, and you hate when a game gets to be that. You know that the big thing is the turnovers and the penalties, but they're both playing a big part in this game.
Well, you were talking before about perhaps the teams being very tight. That could be one reason for all these turnovers. 2nd and 10 on the Ram 27. Kaufman is in the backfield now, but he releases. Dickey falls down, throws across to Nixon. Bad pass. Nixon is 5'11", and Lynn Dickey having a very tough time. For an 11-year veteran, it looks like he is not capitalizing on some of his openings today.
No, we were talking about a little tightness, and both teams still look tight, and that's unusual for the second half. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a loose, flowing type thing.
And it's only the 3rd game.
Yeah. And you would think, that those things shouldn't happen until the end of the season. There's Jan Stenerud. We played against him when I was at San Diego State 15 years ago. He wore number 78.
3rd and 10 on the 27. And Dickey got some protection, throwing deep to the invisible man. Rod Perry all alone down there. So you see?
I have no idea what's happening to the Packers. It looked like they started out throwing the ball. They were throwing to James Lofton, and they looked okay. And they just traded for John Jefferson, and maybe he's down there.
I'm looking.
Do you see him?
Not yet.
He's wearing a yellow shirt. That's what Dickey's saying. Do we have Jefferson yet? No.
Meanwhile, Stachowicz will hold for Stenerud. Jan kicked a 48-yard field goal way back in Super Bowl IV against Minnesota. The longest he ever kicked is 55. The spot is at the 35, so it's a 45-year effort that is good. And the Green Bay Packers have taken the lead again. Green Bay 16, the Los Angeles Rams had a party.
Oh, he has all the group here, a lot of people. Good crowd, sell out.
Stenerud is going to kick it fairly short, and they look to Drew Hill at the 14-yard line. To the 20, 25. And dragged down as he got across by Prather at the 34-yard line. That's Guy Prather. There's Jack Youngblood. Well, it's got to be brutal down there.
You don't think it's warm out there? I'll tell you, you love that sweat, though. The wet, they get a little drink, and they get some dirt in them, and, they're ready to go. That's the way the game should be played.
Don't forget, next week on CBS Sports Saturday, Duran and Menchio from Las Vegas, 4:30 Eastern Time on CBS Sports Saturday. 1st and 10 on the Ram 35. In motion is Billy Waddy. Jeff Rutledge, the quarterback, with Tyler and Gooman. And Gooman runs into Casey Merrill, and that's that. Gee, Merrill, number 78, has had an outstanding day. Butler captured your imagination early when he teed off on Hayden, but play after play, you see Casey Merrill. There's a flag on the play.
Casey Merrill has really beaten out Ezra Johnson. Ezra Johnson in his first year was in the Pro Bowl. And then Casey Merrill came in, and in training camp, Johnson was hurt. Merrill went in, and he's won a starting spot, and he hasn't been moved out of there. They try and say that they have co-starters, Merrill and
Personal
Johnson.
Foul, face mask, number 78 defense.
Oh, they got Merrill for face mask.
I know you never talk about a guy. They always do something bad when you talk. I'm sorry, Casey. I didn't mean to jinx.
1st and 10 on the Ram 42. Bernard going one way and then the other. And reading the play perfectly is Rich Wingo to drop his man back on the 35-yard line. When you first saw Ringo, you said that Wingo was the best rookie linebacker you'd ever seen.
Right. I saw him as a middle linebacker when they were playing a 4-3 defense as a rookie, and I felt that this man was the best rookie middle linebacker that I have ever seen. Last year he had back surgery and he didn't play, and he looks like he's starting to come back. He's not as good right now as he was as a rookie.
2nd and 15 on the Ram 37. Gooman and Tyler, and the pass all alone is Billy Waddy, and he does a little fake on Mark Lee, and Gray finally brings him down, but he picked up the 1st down. But there are flags in the backfield. They'll hold everything.
Well, it looks like Jackie Slater's down there right by the flag. And, of course, that's going to be in the area holding. It'll be against the Rams, so they'll bring it back and do it again.
Unless it maybe was roughing the passer because Rutledge had taken a lick.
Maybe you're right. It was. Usually when you see him throw the flag at that lineman, it's against holding, but that is roughing. Look, there goes Jerry Seaman. He's going for 15 big ones.
And we'll hear now the interpretation.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer, number 53 defense. First down.
So a big break. That makes it 1st and 10 on the Packer 30-yard line. It had been a 2nd and 15 on the 36, and Jackie Slater, watch this.
Right here, and that's against Mike Douglas, number 53. You see, he's coming right inside of Pankey right there, and he hit him in the head. That's what it was. You know, that a player can't hit the quarterback or anyone in the head. That's a great rule.
1st and 10 from the 30, and Rutledge is going to pass and go deep to Drew Hill, who made the catch, and he beat Mark Lee.
I'll tell you, the Rams look like they've had enough of that stuff, and they said, we're going to go play like the Rams now. We're going to take our offensive line, and we're going to pass protect, give the quarterback time and a chance, which they did, and we're going to get in the end zone and break them. See, it's a little play pass. Now watch the pass protection. Rutledge had good time. He leads Hill right inside to the post, and he gets it for the touchdown.
So Jeff Rutledge, who broke Namath's record for touchdown passes at Alabama, completes one to Drew Hill, and the Rams are back out in front. We're liable to have a wild one here before it's finished. It's 20-16 Los Angeles, and Corral makes it 21-16 Los Angeles. 2 minutes and 9 seconds left to go in the 3rd quarter.
There's teeth.
4 teeth, yeah. Nixon on the 2. Reds to the 10, 20. He's not going to make it to the 25. And a lot of pushing and shoving down there. Harlan Huckleby and Mel Owens. Jeff Rutledge talking upstairs. Oh, that's Kemp. Pardon me.
Yeah, that's Kemp. I don't like the color of that phone. You know, that phone ought to be another color. That's
a princess phone.
It's a princess phone, yeah. Jack Kemp is taking, Jack Kemp. Who in the heck said Jack Kemp? Jeff Kemp is taking the plays down that they were successful on that drive, and maybe something that they would like to use the next time.
Number 23 on the kicking team. Re-kick with a 5-yard penalty.
That's Lucius Smith, who was the wideout on the kick, and the penalty called against him, so they'll have to re-kick.
Anyway, Jeff Kemp will take the plays down that one were successful in that drive, and 2 that they would like to use the next time, and then he'll talk to Jeff Rutledge about those plays.
There's the schedule next Sunday. An awful lot of people watching this game today are going to see a dandy next week. Atlanta Falcons at Cleveland, and luckily you and I'll be able to see that one as well. Minnesota will be at Green Bay. The Giants later on will be at Dallas, and the Saints at San Francisco. Check your local listings for time as Jackie Slater, with some ice to his face, trying to forget this 89-degree weather. There is Harlan Huckleby. 2 years out of Michigan. He was originally drafted by New Orleans, but he decided to play a year in Canadian Football League, and Green Bay picked him up last year. And Huckleby, instead of Fred Nixon, is going to return. We told you Kaufman is everywhere, the tight end. He's up on the 25-yard line to the right of Harlan Huckleby. And Huckleby will take it at about the 8, to the 20, to the 30, following Kaufman. And there's not enough real estate for him. He goes out of bounds in front of the Ram bench. And they'll mark it across the 30 at about the 32.
Okay, now Zeke Bredkowski is telling Lynn Dickey there, you know, the last few times we had good drives, we had good field position, and we had to settle for a field goal. Let's go in and get one of those things called a touchdown and 7 points.
You know, we saw Lynn Dickey just run into the huddle. Earlier in the game, Dickey completed 6 consecutive passes. In the second half, he is 1 for 6 for a -4 yards.
I don't know what caused that, other than maybe getting away from James Lofton. I think he should, you know, get back to that. Get back to getting Lofton some things.
1st and 10 on the 33. Jensen and Middleton, both backs flare and release, and Dickey is going down. Reggie Goss, along with Bill Murphy and Cody Jones.
You know, on that play, James Lofton was wide open, but of course you can't fault the quarterback here, because the first thing you need is what? Pass protection. He's looking, he sees something, and then boom, there come the group.
Cody's left arm, Cody Jones, the left arm hit him first, and then the other big boys moved in. Phil Murphy is somewhere around 290 to 295. Didn't he get up to like 318 during the offseason?
He was 318 and is over 300 now. How would you like to be a quarterback and look downfield and see big Phil Murphy playing?
Like the Indies. 2nd and 19 from the 33. They keep Murphy out so Dickey can pass to Nixon. No good. And a great one-hander by Rod Perry broke it up. If Perry doesn't get those high five in the way, why, I think Nixon would have caught it.
That's the thing, you know, they always talk about the short corners of the Rams, Thomas and Perry, but one thing they can do is get up in the air. Now they have pass protection. You see, he had to move around. He gave it everything he had to get it out here. Look at Perry get up in the air.
John, isn't that being a little greedy? You have a 2nd and 19. You try to go and get all of it at once.
Well, I think you have to mix. Once in a while, you have to do that just to loosen up that defense. See, Ray's saying, okay, good defense, good defense. We need one more now.
And now it is a 3rd and 19. Jensen and Kaufman in the backfield. And it's a screen to Kaufman, and reading it was Jack Youngblood, Leroy Irvin, and that's the end of that. So poor Paul Kaufman, who has been all over the field, and when they finally put him on a little screen, Jack Youngblood played it from memory.
Right, and we'll see why. It's very difficult to throw a screen against a blitz because it brings about man-to-man coverage. You see the blitz, and we get it out there. Now Kaufman just gets the ball. You wonder why Youngblood's out there. That's his responsibility. Watch him, 85. He'll start out here. He has the second back strong. The second back strong is that man right there. He said, that's my man. I got him. A bunch of you come and help me.
Leroy Irvin is on the Ram 45-yard line, and Ray Stackowitz will be punting from about the Packer 5, and he got it out there. In fact, he makes Irvin retreat to about the 35, and Irvin is hit, and down he goes. Charlie Ani, number 61, was the first man to get him, and he's an interesting story. His dad was the center for Detroit in the 50s. You might remember that.
I do. Then, of course, Charlie played for years for the Kansas City Chiefs, and his main strength is being a snapper or a center for the kicks and punts. Geez, we have a lot of flags out there. I see them all over. Down there in the 35, there's one back there on the 12. There's one out here. They have about 3 or 4 of them. Joe Harris is saying, what do all those flags mean? The guy said, well, I had one. I had one. Someone else ought to come in there and tell Jerry Seaman he had one.
Ineligible downfield, number 56, kicking team. Illegal use of hands, number 37, receiving team. Offsetting penalties, replay the down.
Well, we had 2.
It balances the scales, and they'll try it again. 1st and 10. After that punt, and of course all of that is canceled and washed away, so we look at Ray Stackowitz again, the 3rd-round draft choice this year for the Packers. We were talking about it earlier. They figured that since he went to Michigan State and they saw him kick so much in bad weather that he would fit in Green Bay nicely.
Yeah, but he hasn't hit the bad weather yet.
No.
See, so they don't know. And again, they said that he's been kicking too many line drives, but today he's gotten the ball up and he looks like he has good what they call hang time.
All right, Stackowitz again kicking from the 5, and Leroy Irvin is standing on the Ram 45. Good snap, and the kick to the left of Irvin, running laterally at the 48, and now he's in Packer territory. He got away from one man. Randy Scott hit him, but he just tossed Scott away, and finally Harlan Huckleby brought him down. Along with John Madden, the Rams leading Green Bay 21-16, and the Rams in possession 1st and 10 on the Packer 44. Jeff Rutledge replacing the injured Pat Hayden, and he'll give to Wendell Tyler, and Tyler is grabbed by Mike Butler, and that's the end of that, dropping him back around the 49 to the midfield line. Mike Butler was the man who made a legitimate hard tackle on Pat Hayden. Hayden was 1 for 2 before he was decked. In a wild game, Minnesota finally gets on the winning side. They beat Detroit 26-24. Atlanta got back to form, defeating San Francisco 34-17. Look at that wild one. St. Louis 40, Washington 30. And we go 2nd and 10 from the 44. Rutledge looking to the right, and the ball is tipped, but it is still caught by Henry Childs, the tight end at the 35. That's the first time we've seen him today.
Right, and he had to catch a tip. It was John Anderson, the linebacker. He came on a blitz and a stunt, and he got right in Rutledge's face, tipped the ball, and it went to Henry Childs. Henry Childs says, you know, I don't get many passes here. I'll take them any way I can get them.
So it is 3rd and 1. The ball at the 35-yard line of the Packers, 21-16 Rams. Miami beat Houston 16-10. 3rd and 1 from the 35. Mike Gooman is in there with Wendell Tyler, and they try Gooman, and he picks up the first down and then some. He just won't go down. They finally drill him at about the 27-yard line. Boy, did he just run over Maurice Harvey.
You know, as we watch Gooman here and catch his first down here, you know, again, over the left side, the big side of that Ram offense. Look at Harvey, just bounced off him. You know, I wonder why Cullen Bryant's not in the game. He hasn't been in for a while.
52 for Green Bay, 130 for the
You
Rams.
see Pittsburgh knocking off the Jets 38-10. Bryant is okay, by the way. Chicago won, and San Diego beat Kansas City. There's a pitch back to Wendell Tyler. Gooman left him, and Wingo didn't. Gooman went wide. Tyler cut inside, and Rich Wingo was there to deck him. I see Cullen Bryant standing on the sidelines wearing his helmet, arms folded, so I don't believe there's anything wrong with him.
Again, and Wendell Tyler has played the whole game. You know, we haven't seen Gerald Thomas.
No, not at all. Thomas has barely played this year. I think we checked his numbers earlier. Gerald has carried twice for a -10 yards, and this is the 3rd game. 2nd and 7 on the Packers 23, 21-16 Rams. But we're 12 and a half minutes left in the game. Rutledge looking left, throwing left to Preston Denard. McCoy brings him down at the 15, but that should be a first down. Preston Denard, he's a story. A free agent back in '78, and he's busted quite a few plays for the Rams.
You know, when they talk about a controlled passing game, this is the type of thing that they're talking about. When you get a corner playing off deep and they give you a cushion, you just run a 5 or 6 yard out and hit it in front of them.
Rutledge is now 5 for 10 for 70 yards after that last catch by Denard. 1st and 10 on the Packer 14. Wendell Tyler following Kent Hill. Oh, what a cut he made, and he is in there for a 1st and goal. Kent Hill went after Johnny Gray, and that's kind of a mismatch. Gray is 5'11", 185, and Kent Hill is 6'5", 260.
And we'll see it, and any defensive back that he blocks is going to be a mismatch. Watch him. He's the left guard. He starts out here. Now watch Wendell Tyler's cut right there. See, now sometimes to make these great cuts, you have to keep the ball away from the body. I always hear people say that you have to keep it in, but you can't.
He has his first 100-yard game of the year and the 6th of his young career. So 1st and goal for Jeff Rutledge, a full house backfield. Tyler, Bryant, and Gooman all behind him. The middle man is Bryant, and he's in there.
Bart doesn't like that one. We were asking where Cullen Bryant was. He was on the sideline resting up for this goal line play. And again, it was a full house backfield. We'll see the line here. Everyone takes off. The Packers are a little high. Bryant just booms it into the end zone. See, no one got in and was able to fill that hole. See, watch the hole. They're in a stunt. Wingo has 2 men on him. There's no way that he could handle that hole. Tackle stunted to the outside.
So the Rams are now leading 27-16, and Frank Corral trying to kick another. And this one is smothered, and it still got through. So it is 28 yards with Bryant punching over from 2 yards out. The Rams are leading Green Bay 28-16. 11:04 left in the game as Frank Corral tees it up. Deep is Harlan Huckleby, and his short man to his right is Paul Kaufman. To his left is Jim Jensen. The wideout that you see, number 42, is Kirk Collins, one-year man out of Baylor, who's been very busy going downfield. So this will be Huckleby from the 13. He runs around Owens. and he got to the 35, and they finally bring him down at the 40-yard line. So a good return by Harlan Huckleby. Once he got by Mel Owens, he had a pretty good run upfield. So the Pack still has a lot of time, but they're going to have to do something with their passing game because they have just come dead in the water.
It was ironic the way he started. You said he was 6 for 6, and in the second half he's 1 for 6
for a -4 yards.
And it's usually the opposite. You know, you get started and then you find out what you can do, and you start to work on that. And the Packers have done the opposite today.
Dickey completed 30 passes against the Falcons last week. He has a 1st and 10 on the Packer 40-yard line. Jensen releasing at the last minute, but Dickey's going deep for Kaufman, and it's going to be picked off. Picked off by Pat Thomas. He's at the 35, to the 40, to the 45, going down the sideline. He's got a clear shot until he's finally brushed by Dickey and caught from behind at the 10-yard line.
I tell you, Dickey didn't like that one because he remembers last year he threw 2 interceptions that were returned for touchdowns, one by Rod Perry and the other by Johnny Johnson, and on one of them he was really injured.
You know who caught Pat Thomas? Probably the only man who could. James Lofton caught him from behind after Dickey kind of gave him an excuse me.
This was a bad throw here because really Pat Thomas, it was a double coverage. Pat Thomas had the position. He was inside Kaufman. Dickey tried to throw it inside. It just wasn't there. He forced it. Now watch Thomas here. See, Dickey does slow him up enough, a little cross body, and then Lofton comes in and says, I've had enough of this, Thomas. You're going down.
Well, it is 1st and 10 on the Packer 11, and of course the Packer defensive squad playing in 89-degree weather. They've got to be on their heels now. Gooman and Tyler are behind Jeff Rutledge, and they'll go to the second man, Tyler, following Gooman, and he's inside the 5-yard line. And I would think the Packer defense now is a little demoralized.
They are a little demoralized. They started early. They were doing a lot of stunts, a lot of different type things, and I think it threw the Rams off. You know, the Packers wouldn't practice here yesterday. They came, they dressed here, and they went over to a college, Fullerton, so that they didn't want anyone to watch them. And they had some special things they wanted to do. They didn't. It may have thrown the Rams off early, but I think they have it now. Of course they did.
Sure they did.
Yeah, sure.
So the ball is down on about the 3-yard line, maybe the 2. The second man is Tyler. He bumped head on into Mike Douglas and then kept on going a little bit.
See, Tyler tried to dive again, but he just couldn't reach the end zone. He was out a little too far, but I bet they'll come back and do it again. You'll say, I can fly this way. See, you know what? You'll see him take off. Look, he gets the ball and tries to fly through the air, but you can't fly 6 or 7 yards.
It was interesting to watch Mike Gooman take off just ahead of him. They were going off like it was O'Hare at 5 o'clock.
That's right. That's the double takeoff.
The double takeoff off one runway. Mike Gooman, number 44, has come out. He's had enough of flying. And they bring in Cullen Bryant along with Wendell Tyler.
Cullen doesn't fly. He just runs over him.
1st and goal on the 1. Here comes Tyler. He got away from Gray and in for a touchdown. Johnny Gray had him 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage, but it was a hand tackle, and you're not going to hand tackle Tyler.
Not on the goal line. Did you see the umpire that time, Frank Sinkovitz? He was there, and he had to get out of the way of the spike job. Now watch this. There was no flight at all. Watch Cullen Bryant. He's the lead back here. He'll come and kick to the outside. Tyler just slides through the hole. As you said, there's no way that you can arm tackle down in the goal line, and Tyler goes in.
So now 34-16 in favor of the Rams. Frank Corral trying to round it off to 35. The spot, the hold by Nolan Cromwell, and that's good. And suddenly, for the first time this year, you can feel the weight being lifted at.
Real turning point was early in the half when the Packers had good field position. 2 times they had it.
Kaufman on a wing and in motion. Both backs go out, and the pass is to Kaufman, no good. Nolan Cromwell is right there with him.
Nolan Cromwell in the 5 defense defensive back or the nickel setup, he plays the tight end. He plays on. Now look, there's some signals. That means cross and pass. Anyway, Cromwell is a normal free safety, but when they go 5 defensive back, he calls the signals and plays on the tight end.
He led the NFC in interceptions last year. He had 8. He wound up in the Pro Bowl, and he is one of the more distinguished players on the Rams team.
I think he leads the NFC in ability.
That's what's left. 4th and 9 for the Packers, and they're running out of everything as Kaufman goes in motion. Dickey needs a first down, and he throws to Cromwell, but it's no good. Nolan couldn't hold on to it. But there's a flag on the play. Dickey is decked. He's on his knees at midfield, and it's going to be roughing the passer against the Rams, and I assume it's going to be against Leroy Irvin because he's the one arguing.
It looks like it. He was on a blitz, and again, the Rams do that a lot from their 5 defensive backs or their nickel. It seemed like they've blitzed every time, and Leroy Irvin is saying, what did I do? You know, those defensive backs don't get a chance to hit quarterbacks a lot. It's always quarterbacks throwing passes at them, and sometimes they get a little over anxious when they get close to one.
So the penalty exacted against the Rams, that'll bring it to the Ram 19-yard line. 1st and 10 on the Ram 19.
Roughing the passer. Number 27 defense. First down.
So 1st and 10 on the 19. 5:06 left in the game. 35-16 Rams.
Pat Thomas is saying, it's okay, it's okay. You see Jim Youngblood in there? He was upset. You know, he's a real competitor.
He's a real linebacker.
He's a linebacker. Oh, yeah, goofy eyes.
First and 10 on the 19. Dickey has Atkins as the setback. Lofton was in motion, and he's throwing to Lofton. Try, and let's see, touchdown. Great one-hand catch by James Lofton.
Oh, that's more than a try. That's a great catch. And I'll tell you one thing about great players, they always compete. You know, we can talk about the game is over, but the ones like the James Loftons, they stay in there and play the whole game. And you have to credit Lynn Dickey, too. You know, he stays in there. He's been roughed. He's had a lot of problems. Look at that throw, but one catch. Boom.
That's his first touchdown of the year.
And watch this rush, and watch what he's had to throw against. Look, again, the Rams are still coming right in his face. He had to jump up. He gets the hit, and right after he throws the ball, Cody Jones says hello.
Stenerud hits it through, and with 5 minutes left, the Rams are leading by 12 points. Go. It is 35-23 in favor of the Rams. Green Bay scoring on that pass from Lynn Dickey to James Lofton. Lofton's first touchdown reception of the year. What are the chances of the onside kick now, John?
I think they look pretty good. The Packers were over there in the sideline. Bart Starr was in a huddle. They took a long huddle. The only problem is that the Rams are in an onside prevent. They have all their men up there within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. They're expecting it. So with 5 minutes, you need 2 scores. Against an onside prevent, maybe the best thing to do is kick it deep.
Yeah, the Rams have Waddy and Miller and Johnson and Denard and Leroy Irvin up front. Deep, they have Gerald Thomas and Drew Hill. So Gerald Thomas making his debut in this game. And they're going to go deep, and Hill will have to go back to get it at about the 5. Coming down and turning one way and grabbing at the other is Mark Murphy, number 37, who was down to hit him inside the 5-yard line.
And I'll tell you, that was a great decision by the Packers. You know, when they do that, when they get the onside prevent, it's also called the hands team, and they had all those ends and backs in there, and they aren't used to blocking on a return. So when you do kick it deep, you have a good chance to get them inside the 10-yard line, as the Packers just did.
So the ball is spotted on the 3, and the Rams put it in 1st and 10 from their 3. Of course, the Packers have to stop them, get the ball. 4:49 left in the game. 35-23 Los Angeles. Drew Hill goes wide right. The running backs are Gooman and Gerald Thomas. And they're going to try Gooman, and he takes a lick from Johnny Gray just about at the line of scrimmage, and then slides across the 5 for a gain of maybe 3.
Now, what the Rams are trying to do is they would like to pick up some first downs, but they also want to take as much time as they can. You see the line play. You see the blitzing linebackers. The corner is coming on that. The Packers are up there pressing to make something happen.
With time 4:22 and running down. It is 2nd and 7 on the Rams' 6-yard line. Miller and Drew Hill go wide left. Arnold is on the right side. And Rutledge staying on the ground to Gerald Thomas. And Thomas in his first carry of the day gets out to the 10-yard line. He only carried the ball twice this year for minus yardage, and they're giving him a little work.
I tell you, the Rams have to be careful down here. The one thing that they can't afford is any type of turnover now. It looks like they've gotten away from that sloppy play, and here comes Wendell Tyler into the game.
I was just going to say, isn't it a little strange when he's only had 2 carries this year in such vulnerable territory to let Gerald Thomas carry the ball?
I don't think so, but the Rams probably just realized that it is a little vulnerable down there, and maybe we better make a change, although Gerald Thomas is still there.
It is 3rd and about 2 from the 10-yard line. And they bunch up, and that's going to be awfully close. From this angle, it doesn't look like he made it.
I would say not. Yeah, now the Packers are taking a timeout, and of course there'll be a timeout after the change of possession. So they do have time. You know, they have 3 minutes, 21 seconds, but they have to be thinking in terms of 2 scores.
A reminder to all the folks in the East, 60 Minutes will be following football immediately. And, of course, it'll resume regularly scheduled programs here on the West Coast, where this game started in approximately 89-degree weather. The Packers got out in front, recovering a Wendell Tyler fumble, and eventually went on to score, but Wendell Tyler has more than made up for that fumble. He's carried for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's a pretty good day's work.
I would think so. Ideally, it'd be nice for everybody to run 100 yards, but you said a good day's work. A running back is looking at what's his bottom line. 50, 60, 70 yards?
I don't think it depends on how many running backs you play in a game. I think that a team should gain about 150 yards rushing a game to have a good offensive output. Now that could be any combination of that.
Frank Corral.
Well, the Rams have rushed for about 165 yards. Frank Corral punting from his goal line, and Fred Nixon is back there instead of Harlan Huckleby. So they've been alternating safeties. Meanwhile, we'll see if the Packers put any kind of a rush on Corral.
They're overloaded on that right side.
He got it away. Nobody could get close to him. So Fred Nixon backing up, and at the 40, he'll set sail. And he is hit and dropped, and a flag. Arnold hit him, but there were flags immediately. I don't know whether Arnold caught a face mask or not. That's Walt Arnold from New Mexico. So let's see.
It seems like on the punts we see, you know, so many penalties now. And of course, some of that is because we have new rules where they can't block below the waist, and some of those things are good. You hate to see flags down all the time, but that's a lot better than injuries down all the time.
Well, we'll get the official interpretation from Jerry Seaman, the referee, in a moment. And it's going to be against Green Bay. And it'll move it back to the 36.
Illegal block above the waist. Number 24 receiving team declined. Illegal block above the waist. Number 51 receiving team accepted.
I wonder why they'd pick on 51. They would accept his and not the other one.
Guy Prather.
That would make you paranoid.
So 1st and 10 on the 36-yard line for the Pack. 3:11 left. So Dickey has to come up with some lightning, and immediately Lofton is the man wide left. Lewis goes wide right. Dickey with his backs releasing, and he's going to give the ball to Harlan Huckleby, and Huckleby is knocked out of bounds at the 39-yard line. So for all of that, they only picked up 3, but they did stop the clock at 3:05. we'd like to welcome everybody who is watching the Giants-New Orleans ball game. The Giants knocking off Bum Phillips and George Rogers and company 20-7. Big night for Ray Perkins and Phil Simms.
2 in a row.
Pull up a chair and see if the Packers can do anything. It is 35-23 Rams, even though the Rams lost the services of Pat Hayden. And Dickey cranking up down the left side, throws an interception to Lucius Smith at the 35-yard line. And Lucius Smith at midfield and is finally upended by Lewis. And we have a quarterback down. It's Lynn Dickey, who was hit by Jack Youngblood. And there are penalty flags down as well. So Dickey has been banged up by Jack Youngblood as he was firing deep and threw the interception. Earlier today, Mike Butler went down and drilled Hayden, but let's see Dickey's problem now and take a look at Jack Youngblood.
Now watch this. He's coming back now. Jack Youngblood will come in from the left in the screen. Right there, just as he throws it, it looks like he got crunched by 2 of them.
Now here's the Hayden play much earlier today, John.
Right, and again from the left side. So we'll see Pat Hayden. He's looking to the left. He doesn't see Butler. Right there, it comes from the right. What a shot Pat Hayden took. Right, we see Jackie Slater is blocking against number 77, Mike Butler. He gets by him. Hayden is looking the other way. Boom.
Apparently, and we say that with fingers crossed, it was not as serious an injury as it first appeared to be. They took Hayden off the field to the hospital for precautionary measures, and preliminary x-rays said no break, a bruise, and I was told a Hayden quote was, I might play next week, which would be next Monday night. Hayden, however, in street clothing, has seen his backup, Jeff Rutledge, have a good day, 5 for 10 and 70 yards. For Lynn Dickey, he had a fine first half and a dismal second half, and now Dickey is shaken up and he has to go out. The scoring for the folks in the East, the Packers got on the board first. David Whitehurst coming in. Tyler fumbled for the Rams, and the Packers finally scored. But then Joe Harris recovered a Green Bay fumble and ran it back for a touchdown. Tyler recovered after a recovered fumble by Cody Jones. Tyler scored to give the Rams a 14-7 lead. Stenerud kicked a field goal 14-10. He kicked another 14-13. He kicked yet another, and for a moment the Packers led 16-14. But from that moment on, a 30-yard pass to Drew Hill, then Cullen Bryant, Tyler, and it has been mostly Los Angeles the rest of the way. Right now, Atkins running out of bounds as he got across midfield, and time running out at 2:48. For all you good folks in the East, again, remember, 60 Minutes will be following football, except on the West Coast. Programs will be seen at their regularly scheduled times. And one of the highlights of 60 Minutes tonight, television and why it is what it is.
We see another Packer injured there, Vin. It looks like Larry McCarron just went off the side. So we not only have a new quarterback on this series, but we also have a new center.
1st and 10 with Charliani, the new center. And the ball at about the 41-yard line. In motion is Kaufman, the tight end, and David Whitehurst looking and goes down the left side, and there's Lewis making the reception no good. He couldn't get both feet down inside the sideline.
I tell you, this pass rush is starting to get to the Packers now, and any quarterback really doesn't have a chance here. Watch here, he's just throwing. Watch as he has to throw over Cody Jones to the outside. Boom, 1 foot in, the second went out. Watch the pass rush now here. We'll watch from the inside there. We see the rush coming up the middle from the outside. Doesn't have a chance.
Go to 2nd and 10 on the Ram 41-yard line. 2:41 left in the game. 35-23 Rams. David Whitehurst with Kaufman in motion to the right. Whitehurst with Atkins staying in the block, but Joe Harris spins him around and wraps him up. Joe Harris, who earlier today distinguished himself, he recovered a fumble on the 21 and carried it over for a touchdown. Joe now comes up with a sack.
And Joe Harris is a linebacker that comes in on passing downs. We see Reggie Doss go to the inside, Fred Dyer to the outside, and Joe Harris splits the two, and Whitehurst doesn't have a chance.
There has been a breakdown up front for Green Bay because the Rams coming on strong now have 6 sacks. Part of it, I guess, is they're teeing off knowing that he's going to go back to pass.
Right, of course, and they're just and the Rams have shown the Packers just about every blitz possible today.
So it is 3rd and 22 on the Packer 47. And Whitehurst dropped the handoff, but he fell on it, I believe. You can also believe that immediately after football, we're going to go to Brent back at the NFL Today and give you the scores, a complete wrap-up of all the action today. So stay right with us. And then that'll be followed by 60 Minutes. A very discouraged Lynn Dickey, 11 years out of Kansas State. Got his club out in front briefly and couldn't hold on to it at all.
Of course, that 3rd down fumble, you know, we mentioned that there was a new center, Charlie Ani, in there, and of course the new quarterback, David Whitehurst, and those things tend to happen in those situations.
On a 4th and 24, Ray Stackhouse punting. Coming over to the right side is Johnny Johnson and calls for a fair catch and makes the reception at about the 14-yard line. And we have come to inside the 2-minute mark. Actually, 1 minute and 58 seconds. A reminder next week. Most of us will be looking at Atlanta. Try Gerald Thomas, and he is grabbed and dropped by Bragg, who backs up Mike Butler. Byron Bragg.
You know, we see this score here, Vin, and I wonder how John Jefferson feels. He was just traded, of course, to the Packers this week.
Let me ask you something. Is it conceivable, 1 in a million shot, that Jefferson might be part of an overall maneuver rather than he's going to Green Bay?
I think that is possible. You know, that just because he was traded to Green Bay, that doesn't mean that he'll play for Green Bay. And Bart Starr may be thinking about that. He could, you know, if they can't come to an agreement, he could go back to San Diego, although I don't think that would happen. He could also be traded by Green Bay to another team. So just because they have that agreement, that really doesn't mean that John Jefferson is going to end up in Green Bay this year.
Ray Malavasi out from a little heat, I'm sure, and especially with Hayden hurt now. The big story was Don Klosterman wanted the Rams to try out Pastorini, and Ray Malavasi was, let's say, non-committal about the idea.
But of course, then, you know, Pat Hayden has the injury now, and I think if they can work out something with Dan Pastorini, that he'll be in a Ram uniform.
Jack Youngblood, whom we saw make a sack of Lynn Dickey just a few moments ago. 1:52 left in the game. This has been Scully along with John Madden, welcoming the East to sunny Southern California. He was 89 at the start of this game. Rutledge to Gerald Thomas, caught from behind by Casey Merrill, number 78. We've seen that number all day long. Casey, a wrestler who went to school out here at Cal Davis. He's given it the best battle possible. Well, we have come to that time, that dramatic part of the day, John.
Very exciting.
Where we salute the heroes.
The real heroes.
Our executive producer, Terry O'Neill, senior producer, Charles H. Milton, the third. Our producer, Mike Burks, our director, Sandy Grossman, and all of the other fellows who worked so hard and long to get this one on the air. 1:13 left in the game. Fellas, thank you very much. And a special bow to Denny Mnuchin, our spotter, and Dr. Bob Woods for all his statistical help. Ozzie Lang for giving us the scores. There's an old play-by-play announcer, John. That's what you have to look
He used
forward
to be a coach, and that's what happens to you. You know, you lose too many, and your hair starts to grow long, and your teeth take different angles, and you kind of turn goofy. You talk about linebackers.
Yeah, we've cornered the market here. Jeff Rutledge says we've cornered the market too. He got a 35-23 lead. We've got 1 minute and 5 seconds, and life is sweet. But on the other side, things are pretty sour. Zeke Bratkowski, Bart Starr, Frank Corral will be punting, and for the Packers, Fred Nixon standing on the 35-yard line. 1 minute and 5 seconds left. And to see if the Pack can even get close to attempting to block the punt.
They'll send all 10.
Doug Smith, the snapper, and it was a good snap, and he got it away. Nixon making the reception at the 37. Does a little Leon arrow and finally goes out of bounds.
That has to be 15.
Flag on the play. Mel Owens, 58, is a first-round draft choice, a rookie, and he is full of fire. He's been involved in a lot of hard hits today on special teams. He, of course, was the #1 pick for the Rams this year.
He's full of fire, but he reported 2 weeks late to camp on a deal, and he's really never gotten into it with the Rams as a linebacker, but he is a special teams player.
Well, it'll be a 15-yard penalty against Mel Owens for roughing up Fred Nixon. A reminder to you folks in the East, following football, you'll have an update. Brent will give you all the scores, and then we'll move right into 60 minutes.
On the return against the kicking team, first down.
He's saying, I want to play linebacker anyway, Coach. Look, we have this game. Put me in there. Fred Dreyer's in there. He's playing. Reggie Doss is in there. Let me get in there and play behind those two.
David Whitehurst in there for Lynn Dickey on the 1st and 10 from the 42. James Lofton in the slot right with Lewis. And somewhat of a sloppy handoff, I think, too, but a flag on the play before it even got started. This is kind of a dismal time of the game, especially for the club that's behind by a dozen points. Charliani got kind of mixed up, I think, on that snap. There he is. The Hawaiian.
Right, you know, it's been a long time since he's played center, and there's Ray Malavasi. He was thinking it's been a long time since we've won a game, and you talk about a weight off someone's shoulders. I'm sure Ray can feel that now.
And what's going to happen to Green Bay? Well, it's going to remain the same. There's Jeff Rutledge. He beat him. Green Bay has lost 8 straight on the road to Los Angeles. Just a question of whether they can add a couple of points and make it a murmur of protest. That's Freddie Dryer coming in, number 89. It's the waning moments of perhaps his career with the Rams.
False start, number 64,
as we said,
offense.
This could very well be Fred's last game in a Ram uniform. He hasn't played a lot today, you know, and he's in there. Cody Jones has gone most of the way at right end.
False start, number 64, offense.
So the false start against Sid Kitson. Jeff Kemp sitting there with the chart, and he has suddenly moved up slightly. At least for the moment, he's the #2 quarterback since Hayden is sidelined. But to repeat, Pat was quoted as saying he might be able to play next week. At least he's optimistic enough that he thinks he's going to get well within 2 weeks. Whitehurst is going to be hit by Joe Harris, number 51. So David, who was born in Germany and doesn't want to die in Anaheim, he's got about 49 seconds left, and there's a flag on the play.
Right, and it's the same thing. You see, we see Fred Dryer take off to the outside. We see Doss go to the inside, and Joe Harris shot the gap between the two.
Harris, I think, didn't pull a hamstring, but in this heat where your salt supply, the potassium, goes down, he might very well have a cramp.
That happens, you see, and he's waving to the bench that he's okay. And sometimes when they do sweat an awful lot, they tend to get cramps.
You give salt tablets on the sidelines?
Yes, you do. But the big thing is to build up the salt and potassium before the game. And it really doesn't do a lot of good. But look at the lineman there. There's Herky Hara. They call him Herky for Hercules. They could all be. Those are all big.
Sacks. Tough day. 1st and 15 on the 47. Whitehurst, for a moment, saw a glimpse. Now he's going to have to run with it. Kaufman helps you to block, and he's going to get out of bounds just about a first down at the 32-yard line. And Lynn Dickey saying, well, okay. Those are Lynn's numbers, but it doesn't really tell you the picture of what a poor second half he had. Oh, let's turn it around the other way and say what a fine second half the Rams had defensively, putting heat on him.
One thing that does tell a story is he passed 29 times. He told me yesterday, he said he would like to have a game today where he only passed 15 times. Of course, he doubled that.
So Whitehurst got the first down. It's 1st and 10 on the 32 with 40 seconds left. Rams 35, Green Bay 23. Whitehurst releasing to Atkins. Wow. Nobody there, and he threw it over Atkins' head.
There was that same blitz on that left side. He says, I'm not going to take that one again. I'm going to get rid of this. Watch, we see, again, Harris coming up, and they finally get him blocked, or try to, but then Whitehurst says no more. I'm going to get the ball to the outside.
Malavasi saying, okay, I have next Sunday off. I can get ready to play on Monday. Do you like that extra day? Does that help a ball club?
Well, it's one of those things that you like before and you hate after. You're happy that you get the extra day, but then the next week you're a day short.
2nd and 10 on the Ram 32. Whitehurst flipping high again. Atkins. Not only is it a tough play to throw the ball that high, but Atkins has to look right into the setting sun.
And that's the second one that he's thrown into the sun. And I would think when you're 2 touchdowns down, and if you're not going to throw the ball into the end zone, just run the ball and run out the clock, and that's it. You know, to throw a little loop pass and need 2 touchdowns doesn't make an awful lot of sense. And then to throw it into the sun makes even less sense.
32 seconds on the sideline. Some of the Rams in the middleman is Wendell Tyler pulling at his sleeves. He rushed for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns today, although he did fumble, and that led directly to a Packer touchdown. 3rd and 10 on the 32. David Whitehouse down the middle, and it was caught and dropped by Lewis. Nolan Cromwell could not have defended except the tackle, and Lewis looked like he was just tired and didn't concentrate.
You know, Whitehurst, when he was a starting quarterback, we see those wristbands. He used to have plays written on his wrist, and if he didn't get the play from Zeke Bratkowski on the sideline, he'd have to pick one off the wrist. But he doesn't have the plays written there anymore.
No, I guess after 5 years out of Furman, and there is Jackie Slater's mouthpiece protector. He got a shot in the mouth, remember, early today, and he had to apply ice, so he's okay.
He's checking his teeth.
4th and 10 on the 32. And a wobbly pass, almost, but not quite caught by James Lawton. Boy, he pulled that thing in like a cat who found a mouse, but he didn't fool anybody.
It didn't, so they go. We'll see that again. Now watch James Lofton here. He runs, he gets bumped in the first area right there. And we'll see the ball come in, go out. He brings it back in. Did anyone see it? He was hoping the official was behind him.
Meanwhile, look at David Whitehurst. Reggie Doss trying to come in on the right side and get at him. And he just hit him by the back of the jersey and jerked him down. That's a great position to play on a poor team.
I tell you, that is very tough.
So the Rams have it. There's only 21 seconds left in the game, so there's nowhere to go but to the clubhouse, in all honesty. It is 35-23 Rams. For Green Bay, they haven't been able to come into Los Angeles and beat them since 1966. And the Rams are going to sit on this one now. And this is Vin Scully for John Madden. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be saying so long from Anaheim Stadium. Once again, the final score, the Rams 35 and the Packers 23.